Chapter 481. Equipment and weapons were also a type of strength. In the world of cultivation, there was basically no prohibition. Even the elite academy's qualifiers were no exception. Boss, isn't it a little too strict? This is the elite academy's qualifiers. Entering 1 year earlier means 1 year earlier access to the elite academy's training environment. Huyen said. Yes, boss, we know that you are afraid that we will become dependent on the spiritual treasures. But the elite academy's qualifiers are important. Who doesn't give their all? Some people are even willing to pay the price to borrow equipment and weapons. Lin Hao said. When Chen Hao had given them the spiritual treasure set, he had also told them that they were not allowed to use it unless they were in a life and death situation. But in the eyes of the crowd, the importance of this qualifier was no less than a life and death situation test. As students of the elite academy, they knew very well how important the elite academy's training conditions were to the cultivators. It's only 1 year. To a cultivator, the most important thing is not the training environment, but the state of mind and mentality. Training one's will, spirit and soul is the key, especially this kind of competition. It is the best opportunity to train one's state of mind. In my opinion, the significance of this is far greater than passing the qualifiers. If one wins with their own strength, the rewards obtained will be incomparable to winning with the spiritual treasures. Begin. While Chen Hao and the others were communicating telepathically, Huyen Aobo and the rest did not forget about the official business. Before the competition officially started, the arena where Chen Nan and Chen Yan were in had become the focus of everyone's attention. Boom. As the restrictions at the edge of the arena were lifted, Chen Nan's body emitted a violent and fierce aura. He suddenly turned into a ray of light and rushed towards the token at a terrifying speed. Humph, want to snatch it from me? Dream on. Boom boom boom. The arena instantly fell into a chaotic battle. So what if the other 4 are not blocking? With my strength, I can still get the token. As long as you dare to snatch it, I will have the chance to kill you. With my own strength, who can say anything? As long as I can kill you, I will receive a huge reward. At the same time, in the arena where Chen Yan was, a figure also displayed incomparable strength from the start. Chen Nan and Chen Yan were far more important than the other disciples of Cold Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall. In the beginning, Chen Hao had arranged for Feng Handong to take care of Chen Nan. But because of Chen Hao's appearance, they changed the arrangement. And now, the strongest opponents arranged for the 2 of them were the 2 strongest among the 5 great halls of the Limitless Demon Palace, other than Feng Handong. There were 2 reasons for this. Firstly, they were the younger brother and sister of Chen Hao, whom they hated the most. Secondly, the talent they displayed at such a young age was also very shocking. How could they, who were already mortal enemies with Winter Plum Hall and Ruwei Hall, allow 2 monstrous geniuses to grow? However, so fast. How is this possible? After a while, the cultivators who were paying attention to the 2 arenas cried out in surprise. Chen Nan and Chen Yan, who were only in the middle stage of the manifestation realm, actually displayed a speed that completely surpassed their realm when they charged towards the center of the arena. The cultivators beside and behind them did not even have time to attack, before the 2 of them turned into 2 wisps of green smoke, and left the dust behind them. Even Venerable Immortal Han Mei, Venerable Immortal Yun Wei, and the others who knew Chen Nan and Chen Yan were slightly surprised. Chen Nan seemed to be violent, but he had used the profundity of his strength to an extremely high level. His body moved forward in a straight line, and he used the force of his opponent's force to divert his opponent's force. He used the force of his opponent's force to the minute realm within a narrow range. On the other hand, Chen Yan's entire person seemed to have turned into a dreamy butterfly in an instant. He fluttered around the arena, but the speed of his advance was spiraling and was not inferior to Chen Nan's at all. The token is mine. Chen Nan and Chen Yan, who were on the 2 arenas, grabbed the huge token almost at the same time. No one can take it away from me. Brother, watch my performance. The moment Chen Nan held the token, his entire body shone with a bright golden light. Brother, I will definitely not disappoint you. Chen Nan and Chen Yan's faces shone with strong fighting spirit and pride. It was as if a small universe had exploded. Even they themselves felt an unprecedented power. This was Chen Hao's first time watching them fight. Since they were young, Chen Hao was their idol. Whether it was Chen Nan or Chen Yan, at this moment, they felt as if they were being inspected by their brother. How could they not be excited? Under this state of mind, the two of them exploded with power that was far beyond their imagination. Good. Not bad. Venerable Immortal Han Mei and Venerable Immortal Yun Wei could not help but exclaim in admiration. In the two halls, the disciples who were familiar with Chen Nan and Chen Yan widened their eyes in surprise. How did they suddenly become so strong? Fortunately, Chen Hao's lips curled into a smile as he looked at his younger brother and sister. Let's see if they can last until the time limit. He is only at the middle stage of the creation realm. How can he be so fast? Kill. Everyone, let's kill him together. A middle stage creation realm cultivator wants to get the token? Dream on. Kill. 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 At this moment, the two leading experts from Limitless Demon Palace on the two arenas were furious. Both of their goals were to obtain the tokens. Moreover, for the candidates who passed the selection, each of them had 4 people to fight against Chen Nan and Chen Yan. According to the original plan, the other 8 people were to block Chen Nan and Chen Yan respectively. Their goal was to get the token first. When Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and the other cultivators began to fight for the token, it would be the time for the 5 of them to attack. But now the token had been obtained by the other party. You think you can stop me with just you idiots? Get lost. Chi. Chen Nan waved his sword coldly. Under the boost of the token's protective golden light, his attacks were violent and ferocious. As for Chen Yan, she was still the complete opposite of Chen Nan. Her graceful and petite body was like a weeping willow swaying in the wind, and her entire body emitted a gentle aura. Shockingly, it was the soft sword Dao that had extremely strong defensive capabilities. Not bad. In the void, Deputy Dean Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, who was in charge of hosting the competition, paid attention to the 2 arenas after Huyan Aobua, and the others routinely called out the group numbers and the names of the tampers. At this moment, when he saw the strength displayed by Chen Nan and Chen Yan, who were only at the middle stage of the creation realm, he could not help but praise them in his heart. Why does this little fellow look so familiar? Strange. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru frowned slightly when he saw Chen Nan's appearance. Could it be that old man and this little fellow are fated? At Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's level of cultivation, he would not forget anything. The people he met and the various things he experienced would appear clearly in his mind, unless he could block out some useless and jumbled memories. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru was sure that he had never seen Chen Nan before. It was also because of this that he attributed this feeling of familiarity to the illusory fate. If the 2 of them join forces, one of them is extremely hard while the other is extremely soft, they will definitely be able to display an even more powerful strength. Most people couldn't see any clues at all, and they wouldn't connect the 2 people on the 2 arenas together. However, an expert in the heavenly immortal realm, like the Vice Dean, instantly caught the profundities of the 2 people's ultimate techniques. These 2 ultimate techniques are practically tailor-made for the 2 of them. Could it be that they created their own ultimate techniques? It shouldn't be. With their cultivation realm, they definitely can't do it. Could it be that there was an expert tailor-made for the 2 of them? Wuxia Celestial Palace's Yinwei Hall. Chen Nan and Chen Yan, twin siblings from the Eastern Continent, from the Eastern Continent's immortal Dao secular world. Could it be? After the Deputy Dean merged a wisp of divine thought into the controller's token, he instantly understood the identity and information of the 2 people. After seeing all of Chen Nan's information, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's eyes flashed with shock. It must be. Wuxia Celestial Palace's Winter Plum Hall and Yinwei Hall's providence has been shining in recent years, and geniuses have gathered. I see. A figure that had disappeared more than 100 years ago appeared in Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's mind. It was a figure that once caused the top experts of the entire boundless continent to treat with great respect, and no one dared to provoke it. Time's up. Deputy Dean Yuanru's majestic voice rang out. Haha. We won. Little Nan, Little Yan, good job. Junior brother Chen Nan, junior sister Chen Yan, congratulations. After Chun Nan and Chun Yan obtained the tokens, they were actually unscathed in the face of all the cultivators' attacks and fights after being besieged and fought over. Judging by the looks of it, let alone 10 minutes, even if it was another 10 minutes, they would still be able to hold on. However, the two of them were restricted by their realms. Even with the protection of the token's golden light, the offensive power they displayed was ultimately limited. They were unable to defeat all the cultivators within a time limit like other true experts and did not dare to approach. Master, martial uncle, brother. Brother. When Chun Nan and Chun Yan returned, there was a hint of unconcealable joy on their faces. They quickly moved to Chun Hao's side, looking as if they were waiting for his praise. Even the cold Chun Nan was no exception. Did father teach you these? Chun Hao asked through voice transmission. Yes, brother. Father said that these two ultimate techniques will gradually evolve as our realms increase if little Yan and I work together. But he only taught us the blessed realm techniques. He said that in the future, we will have to rely on ourselves to understand them. Chun Nan said. Not bad. Chun Hao said. It's a pity that you haven't truly understood father's intentions. You're too rigid on the form, and you've lost the charm of these two ultimate techniques. You can only unleash their greatest power if you work together. But in reality, you can completely rely on yourselves to execute them. Brother. Chun Yan had thought that she would receive her brother's praise, but she did not expect Chun Hao to dismiss her with just a not bad. Brother, we'll work hard. Father also said that we can barely be considered to have truly comprehended the 19th style, if we can create it on our own. Yes. If it's too hard, it'll break easily, and if it's too soft, it'll lose its power. Your 19th style should be where extreme hardness turns to softness, and extreme softness turns to hardness. Only then can your power truly increase. When you can combine both hardness and softness, it'll be time for you to truly display your power. I just returned to my wife's hometown, and I have a lot of social engagements to attend to. Dark Mountain can only try his best to continue updating, but it's hard for me to guarantee that I'll be able to complete 2 chapters. There's really no other way. If you like this work, I welcome you to come to Qidian. Come and vote for me. Chapter 482. Mother, what's wrong? In the martial arts practice field, at the front of the Limitless Demon Palace's Nanxia Hall, an enchanting young girl at the human celestial stage asked the beautiful middle-aged woman beside her with a hint of doubt in her eyes. The middle-aged woman's aura was at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. They were the famous mother and daughter of the Limitless Demon Palace, Nanxia and her daughter, Bailey Ningbing. Mother. What surprised Bailey Ningbing was that Guan Nanxia didn't seem to have heard her. Her eyes were still staring into the distance. Bailey Ningbing couldn't help but gently pull her eyes down. After Guan Nanxia withdrew her gaze, Bailey Ningbing continued. Are you still worried about Feng Handong? Nanxia heard her daughter's words, but she was still in a trance. After 2 seconds, she returned to normal and said, How could that be? Feng Handong is the candidate your grandfather found for you. Among the contestants in this year's competition, who can defeat him? Then you are? Mother just thought of someone. Who? Bailey Ningbing asked curiously. You should talk to Feng Handong about the matters of the older generation. While you're at it, tell him that he can kill the disciples of the Limitless Devil Palace, Winterplum Hall, and Ruwei Hall except for Chun Hao, Chun Nan, and Chun Yan. It's best if you don't have any interactions with them, and don't provoke them. Guan Nanxia's expression was grave as she said. If the person behind them is alerted, let alone Fan Suixin, even mother and your grandfather won't be able to protect him. Mother. Bailey Ningbing frowned when she heard her mother's words. But the last sentence made Bailey Ningbing widen her eyes in shock. How could her grandfather not be protected? Her grandfather was the Limitless Demon Palace's palace master, who stood at the top of the Limitless Star. Besides the Limitless Star's #1 expert, Xiaofeng, who dared to offend him. Go. That Chun Hao is the disciple who killed many geniuses from the Broken Heart Palace, and the other 4 palaces. The reason why he's in the same group as Feng Handong is probably because they did something. It's not too late now. If Feng Handong kills Chun Hao, you'll have to stay away from him no matter how good his physique is. I'm not trying to scare you. Even the infinity ancestor has to be courteous to the three of them. Mother, who is it? Don't ask, go. Little darling waved her hand. Seeing Bailey Ningbing disappear, Ningxia let out a sigh of relief and looked at Limitless Immortal Palace's cold plum hall and Chun Nan's face. Chun Nan and Chun Yan are twins. They are Chun Hao's younger brother and sister. This Chun Nan, other than their auras being completely different, their appearances are almost exactly the same. That Chun Yan's appearance is equally obvious. Ice condensation? Why are you here? Ice condensation, haha. Sit here, sit here. When Fong Handong, who was also Dongfang Han, saw Bailey Ningbing appear here, his eyes flashed brightly. His face, which had been gloomy because of Cold Plum Hall and Yunwei Palace, actually became bright and sunny. Fan Suixin, on the other hand, had a flattering smile on his face as he gave up his seat for Bailey Ningbing to sit with Fong Handong. Bailey Ningbing was not modest at all. She seemed to be used to the flattery of Fan Suixin, who could barely be called a big shot in the boundless world. When Bailey Ningbing transmitted her voice, the sunshine that Dongfang Han had disguised disappeared and was replaced by extreme coldness. How can his background be so powerful? How is it possible? I've endured for so many years. Now that the fruits of victory are in my hands, am I going to give up just like that? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As long as I do that, no one will find out. Everything he has will be mine. One day, I will become an existence that surpasses the boundless world ancestor. At that time, I, Dongfang Han, will recover. Dongfang Han roared madly in his mind. His terrifying sword intent became sharper and purer. Even his entire body exuded a terrifying aura. Beside him, Dongfang Ningbing, who was already at the human immortal stage, was surprised and shocked. She widened her eyes in shock. Ningbing. My hatred for him is absolutely irreconcilable. If there is him, there is no me. If there is me, there is no him. Originally, I planned to destroy his soul no matter what. But now, it seems that I can only do this. Do you still want to do it? That's right. If you do this, no one can protect you. Bailey Ningbing frowned. Listen to me. Only you, your mother, and your grandfather know about this. I want to. Dongfang Han stared at Bailey Ningbing and transmitted his decision. Originally, there was no need for him to say it. But in order to continue clinging on to Bailey Ningbing, he decided to say it. After a while, Bailey Ningbing looked in the direction of Chen Hao. Her eyes became extremely strange. Although she did not reveal any emotions on the surface, after this woman carefully observed Chen Hao for a while, a trace of palpitation emerged from the depths of her heart. Then, she looked at Dongfang Han and nodded slightly. Group 3401 to 3462. Please enter the arena according to your respective arena. Brother Hao, you can do it. Brother, you will win. Boss, kill. This was the final battle of the 62 groups. After 10 minutes, the group battle elimination round would end, and the next round of testing would begin. This was also the time for Chen Hao and Dongfang Han to enter the arena. The beautiful sisters of the Lung family, Chun Nan, Chun Yan, Huyan Aobua, and the others who had won one after another, were all cheering for Chen Hao. Chen Hao, don't let your guard down. Act according to the situation. If you are not confident, give up. With your talent, no matter what, you will be able to enter next year. Moreover, it won't be long before you step into the human immortal stage. Don't lose the big picture for small gains, understand? Venerable Immortal Han Mei and Venerable Immortal Yunwei were not as optimistic as the others. The newborn calf was not afraid of the tiger. Huyan Aobua and the others had blind trust in Chen Hao. However, the two of them were different. In their long lives in the cruel world of cultivation, they had experienced a lot. They had also encountered many situations where there was a mountain higher than the one before. Therefore, they were not as optimistic as Huyan Aobua and the others. Chen Hao had powerful concealment abilities, so could Dongfang Han, right? Nothing was impossible. Okay. Chen Hao nodded at the two venerable immortals. Then he turned into a ray of light and rushed to the arena of his group. Ningbing, don't tell anyone about this. This is a serious matter. Once he succeeds, I believe that no one will be able to see it. At that time he will gain great benefits. But he will also gain many women. Those are just targets for him to use. Do you care about this? What's more, according to the information, that kid's physical talent is even stronger. If it weren't for the fact that his soul was severely injured, even Fong Handong wouldn't be able to match him 10 years later. This is a good thing for you. I know that. Otherwise, I would not have agreed to let him do this. Yes, it's about to start. That kid knows that Dongfeng Han already has the battle strength of a worldly immortal, but he still refuses to give up. Obviously, he has something to rely on. However, he definitely would not have thought that Dongfeng Han's soul, state of mind and other aspects have already reached. Brother Chen is on the stage. Fuck. He met Fong Handong. He's dead for sure. Yeah, even if he is as strong as you say, and has concealed his true strength, he is definitely not a match for Fong Handong. Among the crowd, Li Chao, who had met Chen Hao twice, was discussing with the two people beside him when he saw Chen Hao enter the arena. What a pity. I did not expect that the Elite Academy's preliminaries would be rigged. The Limitless Demon Palace is really shameless. Sho, do you want to die? What's there to be afraid of? I'm not the only one who said that. The situation just now was so obvious. There are many people who are discussing it. All crows in the world are black. Even the Sacred Elite Academy has been tainted. It's really despicable. Luckily, the people from Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall are very smart. Moreover, their performance in the previous battles was quite good. A total of 28 people passed the first round. I hope that Brother Chen can create a miracle this time. Don't count on it. Chen Hao is the most hated person in the 5 halls, or else they would not have arranged him to be Fong Handong. It's already good enough that he doesn't die. Fong Handong is someone who is favored by the Limitless Demon Palace Master. As long as his actions are not too obvious, no one will pursue the matter. Sigh, what a pity. That's Chen Hao who became an elite guardian of our alliance 10 years ago. Yes. Back then, he became an elite guardian purely based on the information he had, and without any assessment. If his soul had not been severely injured 10 years ago, he would have definitely become the focus of our alliance's training. Let's see. I feel that this little guy is not as simple as we thought. At least, I can't sense any flaws in his soul aura. That's because his soul was very strong. Although his soul aura is strong, it doesn't mean that his soul is flawless. When he triggers the heavenly punishment, it's 100 or 1,000 times more dangerous than a complete soul. If he's not careful, his body and soul will be destroyed. That's true. However, even if he can't make it, his younger brother Chen Nan, younger sister Chen Yan, and Lung Ninghuan, who have just reached the human immortal realm not long ago, are also qualified to become elite guardians. Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall are really impressive these few years. This year, another 10% of the participants came from these 2 halls. In the martial arts arena, in a VIP seat near the ring, a few old men stared at Chen Hao, Fong Handong, and the others who had just appeared. They were all high and mighty existences in the Boundless Continent Alliance. Begin. Qi following the order of the Vice Dean. Heavenly Venerable Yuan Ru. The arena where the last 62 groups were located suddenly erupted with terrifying true origin waves. In the entire martial arts practice arena, almost everyone's attention was focused on the arena where Fong Handong and Chen Hao were located. Of course, most people were paying attention to Fong Handong, who was famous in the Boundless Continent. Chapter 483. Boom boom. Chen Hao and Dongfeng Han's positions were specially arranged so that they were not far from each other. Before Lord Yuanru announced the start of the battle, their gazes were already intertwined like 2 sharp swords. At this moment, with Lord Yuanru's order, the 2 of them suddenly rushed out like wild horses. Ah! What a strong fighting spirit! What a terrifying pressure! How can it be so strong? Oh my God! In an instant, 2 bursts of fighting spirit and pressure rose from the 2 of them, instantly covering hundreds of miles of space. Some of the cultivators who were closer to Chen Hao and Dongfeng Han widened their eyes in horror. Under this terrifying pressure, their movements were seriously affected. Before the battle began, The cultivators in Fang Handong's group had already expected this. They did not have much hope for this battle. But no one had expected that the unknown Chen Hao would burst out with such a powerful and terrifying aura at this moment. The strength of his soul has reached the human celestial stage? He really hit it well. Humph. That's even better. Dongfang Han's eyes were cold as he rushed toward the token at the core of the battle. For so many years, Dongfang Han had been enduring and dragging out an ignoble existence. Although he was almost desperate, he had never given up. He had been cultivating crazily all the time. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. If 10 years were not enough, then 100 years. 10 years, 100 years, was nothing to a cultivator's long life? He believed that as long as he made progress and improved his cultivation, there would be a day when he would have a chance. Under the spur of this belief, he who had concealed his identity and was unknown to the public, was in a state of frenzied cultivation almost all the time. Yet now, under a series of coincidences, he'd finally surpassed Chen Hao. From Chen Hao's awakening to his decision to fight in the same arena with Chen Hao, he had never worried that Chen Hao would avoid the battle. The person who knew you best would always be your enemy. Dongfang Han knew Chen Hao's character well. He also knew that Chen Hao was not as simple as he appeared to be. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, Chen Hao would not avoid the battle. It was just like their life and death battle back then. I knew it would turn out like this. But this time, no matter how well you hide, you'll still die. Ha ha. Dongfang Han roared madly in his mind, and the aura around him became even more terrifying. Scram. If you don't want to die, then get out of my way. Dongfang Han roared coldly. Streaks of incomparably sharp sword light, filled with the aura of the inextinguishable sword Wei, blasted towards the surrounding cultivators, who were already avoiding him like the plague. This token is not something you can obtain. If you don't want to die, then withdraw. Chi. At the same time, Chen Hao also attacked the cultivators around him coldly. The brilliant sword radiance contained a terrifying sword essence of destruction. Chen Hao and Dongfang Han were very clear that this arena had become their battlefield. Although they did not care much about the qualifications to be a student of the elite academy, they were not willing to let others take advantage of the resources in their hands. On this point, the two of them were still on the same page. Hence, when they rushed towards the token, the first thing they did was to clear out the other cultivators. This was to prevent the two of them from being seriously injured in the battle, and allowing these weak shrimps to become the fishermen instead. Amazing. So powerful. One is the inextinguishable sword Wei, the other is the destruction sword Wei. Moreover, their sword Wei realms have surpassed the 9th heaven of sword Wei. This is too unbelievable. I know about Fang Handong, but how can Chen Hao, who suddenly appeared, be so strong? And he's only at the initial stage of the manifestation realm. What do you mean by suddenly appeared? 10 years ago, Chen Hao was already very famous in our area. Unfortunately, it was said that his soul was severely injured, and he was in a coma for 10 years before he finally calmed down. Now it seems that his soul was not severely injured. He was obviously cultivating some peerless heart technique in seclusion. Once he reaches the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm, he will definitely not be weaker than Fang Handong. He might even be stronger. When Chen Hao and Dongfang Han displayed their shocking speed and incomparably powerful battle power, the entire training ground was filled with a buzz of discussion. Originally, most of the people wanted to see what kind of person the legendary Fang Handong was. They did not have any thoughts about the ownership of the token. Was there any suspense? However, when they saw Chen Hao, who was only at the peak of the initial stage of the manifestation realm, display such terrifying battle power and shocking speed, no one could be certain. This was because Chen Hao's speed as he rushed towards the center of the arena was not any slower than Dongfang Han's. Not only that, both of them seemed to be staring at each other and maintaining the same pace. They were also clearing out the other cultivators. It was obvious that the two of them were going to have a showdown. Damn it, I've retreated. I still wanted to show off and feel the atmosphere in the arena. I met two monsters. That's right, how can I live like this? I'm so fucking unlucky. I'm also retreating. After a while, the cultivators around Chen Hao and Dongfang Han chose to give up gloomily. They went straight to the edge of the arena, and when they came into contact with the barrier, they were immediately sent flying out of the barrier. By leaving on their own, they could avoid being sent flying out by the two monsters, Dongfang Han and Chen Hao. I'm also retreating. Immediately after, the cultivators who believed that they had no hope of winning and did not want to be sent flying out in a pathetic state all chose to withdraw. Come, let me see just how much power you've been hiding. Don't disappoint me. When only Chen Hao and Dongfang Han were left in the arena, Dongfang Han stared at Chen Hao with a cold and sinister expression, and sent a message to him. You'll be very satisfied. Rumble. Rumble. Two terrifying explosions suddenly came from under their feet. At the same time, they rushed toward the core token as fast as they could. From the beginning of the competition until now, the two of them seemed to have agreed beforehand. They had an unusual tacit understanding, and followed the rules of the competition. They did not show the slightest intention of deliberately killing each other. It gave others the feeling that they appreciated each other's talents. However, Senior Celestial Han Mei, Senior Celestial Yun Wei, Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and Huyan Aobua, who were familiar with the situation between the two of them, were shocked and worried for Chen Hao. They knew that this was the prelude to a storm. Even they did not expect that Chen Hao would choose such a fierce collision and duel. Chen Hao's strength had indeed exceeded their expectations. They were not worried about Chen Hao's life at all. However, the premise was that Chen Hao did not directly confront Dongfang Han. It was enough to protect his life in the arena. In their opinion, the best way for Chen Hao was to take the initiative to snatch the core token. Only by snatching the core token, and relying on the mysterious protection function of the core token, could he possibly win. After all, the time limit was only 10 minutes. However, Chen Hao's way of doing things was obviously very different from what they had imagined. The protection function of the core token is not divided into stages. It is extremely mysterious. As long as I can get it, killing him will be much easier. At least the damage to my body will not be too serious. I must get the core token. Chen Hao's eyes shone brightly. It was as if he was tearing the void apart as he charged toward the core token at a terrifying speed. The core token was a powerful Dharma treasure refined by a heavenly immortal equipment refiner. Chen Hao knew very well what his weakness was compared to Dongfang Han. Only by obtaining the core token could he relax slightly. Otherwise, if Dongfang Han obtained it, the price he would have to pay would be much higher. Of course, no matter what, it could not stop Chen Hao from destroying Dongfang Han's body and soul. Moreover, Chen Hao had already discussed the countermeasures with the old god. The only way was to make use of the advantage of his powerful soul state. That's it. What made Chen Hao slightly surprised was that Dongfang Han's speed was much slower than his. This made Chen Hao a little surprised. He did not think that Dongfang Han would still be holding back at this time. After all, the core token was very important. Little did he know. If not for your background, why would I do that? I'll let you be smug for now. This command medallion only increases the defensive power of the physical body. Properly protecting your physical body is a good thing for me. It also saves me from wasting my strength. Today I Dongfang Han no Fang Handong am destined to fail. Apart from Bailey Ningbing, her mother, and the palace master, no one else knows this secret. With my Dongfang Han's intelligence in the future, both the immortal Dao and the devil Dao will flourish. Haha. And those women of yours. I should thank you for keeping them with me until now. Besides Tantai Lian, and you who received the inheritance of the phoenix, the others are all 100% virgins. Haha. I should thank you for having such a background. Otherwise, even if I killed you, so what? I still have to think of ways to deal with your family and women. Isn't this good? I only have to give up a bag of skin, but I can get everything you have in one step. No way. Chen Hao's speed is actually faster than Fang Handong's? What an amazing speed. He's only at the peak of the initial stage of the creation realm, but he can suppress Fang Handong in speed. He's really amazing. Fang Handong's speed is probably his weakness, right? Although he's fast now, he can defeat a human immortal. He shouldn't be slower than him, right? After seeing the two's explosive speed, some people started to discuss immediately. What's going on? Han Dong's speed is definitely not limited to this. Is he deliberately going easy on him? Unlike the others, Fan Suixin, who knew Fong Handong better, frowned in surprise. It was a long story, but in fact the diameter of the arena was only 500 miles. For experts like Chen Hao and Fong Handong, it was just a matter of seconds. It's mine. Chen Hao was the first to grab the badge at lightning speed. A mystical protective glow was instantly emitted from it. Humph! Rumble! At the same time, Dongfang Han snorted and suddenly attacked from a distance of 10,000 feet away. A majestic and terrifying sword light, which contained the inextinguishable will of the sword Wei, locked onto Chen Hao from afar like a majestic rain of swords. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 484. Child's Play. Break it. Hiss hiss hiss. Break. Ow 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 ow. Boom boom boom. When the sword light that contained the inextinguishable will of the sword Dao was about to hit him, Chen Hao's body split into 6. The main body stood proudly with the token shrouded in golden light. The 5 clones and the 5 swords attacked at the same time. In an instant, the 5 elements circulated. The 5 divine beasts formed 5 illusory figures in the 5 corresponding elements. They let out a roar that shook the heavens and the earth. The aura of the divine beasts spread out in all directions, causing the sky to change color. The inheritance of the 5 divine beasts? Dongfang Han's eyes narrowed. If you don't have the token and use the 5 divine beasts to fight me, I'm afraid I'll be in a lot of trouble. Unfortunately, with the token shrouded in golden light, you have nowhere to hide. I'll fight with you for a while and let everyone think that you're very, very strong. Dongfang Han thought to himself. He continued to swing his sword and unleash a terrifying attack, while advancing toward Chen Hao's real body at high speed. He wanted to fight in close combat. Boom 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 boom. The inextinguishable will of the sword Dao and the destructive will of the sword Dao were comparable to the strength of a human immortal. They completely unleashed their power, causing the arena within a radius of 500 miles to be filled with terrifying energy turbulence. This was just the beginning, but the audience in the martial arts practice field widened their eyes in shock. How was this a battle between Blessed Realm experts? Not bad, not bad. It's rumored that Fong Handong has the combat strength of a human immortal, and it's true. He's not even 40 years old, but he's already a half-step human immortal, and has the combat strength of a mid-stage human immortal. He's indeed a rare genius in the boundless world. The dean will definitely do his best to nurture such a person. Chen Hao is also not bad. He's not inferior to Dongfang Han at all. In fact, he's even stronger. He's younger than Dongfang Han and has been in a coma for 10 years. He's only at the early stage of the Blessed Realm, but he already has such combat strength. How strong will he be when he becomes a human immortal? Vice Progenitor Yuanru stared at Fong Handong, and Chen Hao with a hint of surprise and excitement in his eyes. He thought to himself, as an expert at the heavenly celestial stage, after the two of them released their auras, he could clearly sense their powerful soul energy. Not only that, but he could also sense the terrifying power contained in their bodies. He had long heard of Fong Handong, but Chen Hao was pleasantly surprised. But seeing it with his own eyes today made him even more surprised. No one was clearer than him about Ancestor Everlasting's desire for true geniuses. Because only he knew about Ancestor Everlasting's current situation. Right now, the boundless world really needed the rise of top-notch experts. Really needed, however. Chen Hao and Fong Handong were monstrous geniuses that he had never encountered in the boundless world in the past 1,000 years. He was much stronger than Chen Shui, who had recently revealed a powerful soul talent. Boom, boom, boom. Sword light crisscrossed. When Dongfang Han approached, Chen Hao's true body and his 5 great clones surprisingly did not delay or evade. Instead, they surrounded Dongfang Han and fought him in close combat. Each of his clones displayed an extremely powerful combat talent. They displayed the fundamental profundity of the 5 elements to the fullest. Unfortunately, they were still inferior to Dongfang Han in terms of strength. For a moment, neither of them could do anything to the other. However, no one knew that neither Chen Hao nor Dongfang Han had displayed their strongest strength. I thought he was hiding a lot of strength. I didn't expect him to only be at this level. The reputation that I, Fong Handong, have built over the past 6 months has been ruined. Dongfang Han, who seemed to have used his full strength but was still unable to do anything to Chen Hao, was very unhappy. At this moment, he was completely adjusting his strength according to Chen Hao's strength and acting according to his plan step by step. Unfortunately, Chen Hao's performance made him feel very disdainful. Moreover, because of his deliberate show of weakness and the final outcome that this body would face, the glory that he had gained under the name of Fong Handong in the past 6 months had completely become the laughingstock of the entire cultivation world. What kind of bullshit genius was this? Chen Hao, who was only at the initial stage of the creation realm, had killed him. Moreover, he was not very powerful. At least, that was what some experts thought. The truth was just as Dongfang Han thought. His performance at this moment made Fan Suixin and other people who knew about the powerful combat strength that Dongfang Han had displayed before feel puzzled and even depressed. It was already strange that his speed was slower than Chen Hao's at the beginning. Now the combat strength that he displayed was even stranger. In their view, although the combat strength that Chen Hao displayed at this moment was also that of a true monstrous top genius, it was far from being comparable to Fong Handong's. After all, Fong Handong was a half-step human immortal, which was 3 levels higher than Chen Hao's realm. What is Handong doing? Why is he still hiding his strength at this time? With his talent, even if he performs exceptionally and kills Chen Hao, he won't be implicated at all. I've already warned him. What is there to be afraid of? Fan Suixin frowned deeply. I thought he was very strong. So it's just a rumor. With such strength, he can't even destroy my doppelganger. Damn it. Does he want me to appear even weaker? The doppelganger, which was of the metal attribute and specialized in killing, frowned slightly and thought to himself. No one knew that this doppelganger formed by the metal sword in true essence was the real existence of Chen Hao's primordial spirit and soul at this moment. The real body, which was protected by the golden light, was completely handed over to the treasure-hunting sword spirit. Even Old God was with Chen Hao's soul, just in case. There was an even more important existence, Itoda. At this moment, under Old God's control, Chen Hao's soul was shining with dazzling light, and his entire soul was covered with extremely mysterious runes. However, all of Itoda's aura was shielded by Old God, and he did not dare to release it at all. 3 more minutes. It seems that this kid's strength is just like this. It'll be too late if we wait any longer. Dongfang Han was more anxious and depressed than Chen Hao. Before the battle, he was still a little traumatized by Chen Hao. He was more or less a little worried that Chen Hao's hidden strength was beyond his imagination. But now he hoped that Chen Hao could be stronger. At least he would live up to the identity he was about to lose. Although Fong Handong's identity was no longer important, it was still one of his identities. It was really a little frustrating to die in such a cowardly way. Break. 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 Rumble. Dongfang Han knew that he could not wait any longer. He suddenly rushed toward Chen Hao's real body violently, and prepared to put on a show. His original plan was very simple. As long as Chen Hao showed enough strength to seriously injure him, and put him in a dangerous situation, then it would be time for him to explode. Once he exploded, his body would not be able to withstand Chen Hao's powerful attack and would instantly collapse. And his primordial spirit and soul would condense into an imperceptible line in the terrifying explosion, and directly attack Chen Hao's mind. He believed that with his powerful soul power, he would definitely be able to control Chen Hao's soul in a moment. This was his biggest reliance. After so many years of forbearance, his will and obsession had reached an unimaginable level. Otherwise, when he escaped to the Eastern Continent's Devil Realm, he would not have fused with the soul of the half-step human immortal Noda Xieching, who wanted to possess him. It was also because of that soul fusion that his soul had mutated and become unimaginably powerful. Good. Seeing Dongfang Han's sudden violent strength, Chen Hao was not surprised but delighted. Kill. The metal-type doppelganger became the main force at this moment. It violently rushed out in a panic to stop Dongfang Han. Get out of my way. Die. Chi. Dongfang Han roared and slashed out with his sword. Roar. The metal-type doppelganger let out a shrill cry under the terrifying sword light of Dongfang Han's inextinguishable sword will. Rumble. The doppelganger suddenly exploded. It exploded like a paper tiger. No one knew that this was also Chen Hao's intention. Dongfang Han's strength was far from what he had imagined. At this moment, Chen Hao did not dare to delay any longer. There was not much time left, and he had to show weakness. Puff. Puff. If I wasn't injured, how could you be my opponent? You. To everyone's surprise, after Fang Handong killed one of Chen Hao's doppelgangers, Chen Hao was implicated by the death of his doppelganger, causing him to spurt out a mouthful of blood and fly back 1,000 feet. However, Fang Handong also spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew back 1,000 feet. What was even more unexpected was that both of them actually said the same thing at the same time. Puff. While everyone was still confused about what was going on and Dongfang Han and Chen Hao were still in shock, Fang Handong suddenly let out a shrill roar. See you. Just as Dongfang Han was about to go completely crazy and take control of his body, an old voice filled with endless majesty suddenly rang out in Fang Handong's mind like the evening drum and morning bell. A golden rune that enveloped Fang Handong's entire mind descended from the sky. Possession? Possession? You want to possess me, Dongfang Han? Haha. In the mind, Dongfang Han was extremely shocked. He never thought that Chen Hao's doppelganger would contain Chen Hao's primordial spirit and soul. At this moment, he understood when he saw the rune that descended from the sky with a vast and magnificent aura, and looked like a divine tower. It was beyond his expectations and shocked him, but he was even more pleasantly surprised at this moment. Die. Haha. If I didn't want to possess you, why would I hide my strength? You asked for it, it has nothing to do with me. Haha. My world, I'm the master. Break. Rumble. The world of Dongfang Han's mind suddenly surged with an extremely terrifying, inextinguishable sword light. In an instant, it seemed to have turned into an ocean of inextinguishable sword Tao. Endless pressure, endless power, and even an eternal and ancient aura spread out in his mind. It's so strong. What a powerful inheritance. Chen Hao, I won't be able to suppress him for long. At this moment, both Chen Hao and the old god cried out in shock. Every year, Spring Festival is the saddest time for Wuxian. Old readers should know this. Wuxian's writing speed is slow. Even if no one disturbs me, I still need more than 3 hours to finish one chapter. Spring Festival. There's really no other way. I really can't do 2 updates. I can only try my best to keep 1 update. Brothers and sisters who can't wait, please rest for a while, and see what happens later. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 485. Inheritance. That's right. This guy must have obtained an ancient inheritance. Otherwise, with his cultivation, no matter how strong his soul is, it's impossible for him to have a sword world. This is more powerful than a domain. Moreover, his sword world has one of the most powerful attributes, the indestructible attribute. In his sword world, the seal that I formed can only last for a few minutes at most. It's impossible for you to refine his soul in a short time. Withdraw. Old God said. The soul aura that Old God simulated using the mysterious runes would disappear when the seal that he formed was broken. At that time, he would not be able to hide it from the heavenly immortal expert who was in charge of monitoring the competition. There were less than 3 minutes left in the competition. First, Old God's seal could not last for long. Second, no matter how strong Chen Hao's soul was, it would not be destroyed in a short time by someone as strong as Dongfang Han. There was not enough time. Once the seal was broken, it would be exposed that Chen Hao wanted to possess Dongfang Han. This was a violation of the rules of the competition. There was another important point that Old God did not mention. Dongfang Han's soul energy was so strong that even Old God was surprised. Old God was sure that Dongfang Han was not inferior to Chen Hao. If the two of them really had a soul battle, it would be difficult to predict who would win. Old God did not want Chen Hao to take the risk. Moreover, in the plan, the one who would devour Dongfang Han's soul was Atoda. Chen Hao and Old God were only there to assist and suppress. Now, it seemed that Atoda would not succeed. It's time to withdraw. Old God, you just do it. Chen Hao knew that Old God was telling the truth. Even he did not expect Dongfang Han to have such a powerful inheritance. He also did not expect Dongfang Han's soul energy to be so strong. Break. Haha. I, Dongfang Han, have become one with the sword soul. My soul already contains the indestructible will. You want to possess me? Ha ha ha. Rumble. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Ah. Under the terrifying and inextinguishable sword light of Dongfang Han's world of swords, the sealing runes that Old God had condensed were only able to withstand a few attacks before they completely collapsed. Chen Hao's voice was filled with extreme surprise and fear. Before he could finish speaking, he screamed and frantically withdrew from Dongfang Han's mind. Like a frightened mouse, he fled back to his true body. Die for me. In the blink of an eye, Chen Hao, who had fused with his soul and body, unleashed an extremely powerful attack under extreme fear. His attack was the sharpest and most violent platinum heaven-splitting slash. Trying to escape? I'll let you escape. Good timing. Dongfang Han originally had the ability to stop Chen Hao's soul from escaping, but when he saw that he had broken Chen Hao's seal with just 2 moves, and Chen Hao had fled in fear, he did not stop Chen Hao. Everything had returned to his control and expectations. Not only was he not surprised by Chen Hao's sudden violent attack, he was even secretly delighted. Explode. Dongfang Han's eyes shone with a resolute, ruthless, cruel, and determined light as he roared in his mind. But on the surface, he disguised it as extreme fear and unwillingness. Rumble. Ah. Ah. Countless screams erupted from the training ground. No one had expected Chen Hao to suddenly display such a powerful attack. Even more so, they did not expect that Fang Handong's physical body would actually collapse under Chen Hao's sudden and powerful attack, exploding into a cloud of blood mist. It was like the final counterattack of a trapped beast before its death. Unfortunately, its power was not as strong as everyone had imagined, although it took a long time to describe. In reality, from the moment their souls had clashed until now, it had only been an instant. Moreover, under the deliberate control of the 2 of them, even Heavenly Lord Yuanru, who was at the Heavenly Immortal stage, did not notice. And at this moment, no one had noticed that Dongfang Han's soul and his world of swords were like a wisp of insignificant energy turbulence that directly entered between Chen Hao's brows. Possession. Yes, Chen Hao had wanted Itoda to possess Dongfang Han's body, but he had failed and fled in panic. Dongfang Han felt that his soul had a huge advantage, and naturally carried out his original plan with even more confidence. It had to be said that Dongfang Han's ruthlessness and decisiveness were not something that ordinary people could compare to. This was indeed built on absolute confidence, but it was also definitely a case of a brave man cutting off his own wrists and burning his boats. How could an ordinary person sacrifice their physical body and the true yuan that they had painstakingly cultivated before they succeeded? A world? You're really something. The moment Dongfang Han stepped into Chen Hao's mind, he also noticed the abnormality in Chen Hao's mind. Unfortunately, your world can't be compared to my world of swords. Suppress. Rumble. The boundless world of inextinguishable sword light brought with it a terrifying heavenly might. Following Dongfang Han's words, with a domineering aura, it began to wreak havoc in the mental worlds that Chen Hao and the Old God had prepared at the last minute. It expanded and swallowed up Chen Hao's mental world like a hurricane. And at this moment, Chen Hao was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He was completely unable to resist Dongfang Han's unstoppable soul strength. The small world that was only a few thousand feet in radius instantly collapsed and was destroyed. It was occupied by Dongfang Han's terrifying world of swords. How can you be so strong? Chen Hao roared in his mind, as if unwilling to accept this. How is this possible? Everything is possible. Chen Hao, I should thank you. Without your coercion and threats, I, Dongfang Han, would not be where I am today. Even I myself didn't think that I would be where I am today. Everything is given to me by you. Everything is given to me by you. Aha. From now on, I, Dongfang Han, am yours. Everything of yours will be mine. Haha. Seal for me. Chi 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 chi. Rays of inextinguishable sword light condensed into a dense sword net. In an instant, it completely sealed Chen Hao's soul palace. Ah! Chen Hao seemed to cry out in extreme fear. He could no longer raise any waves. Ha 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 ha. Chen Hao, don't worry. I definitely won't let you die so easily. I will refine and fuse with your soul bit by bit. I will let you watch as everything that should have belonged to me, Dongfang Han, once again returns to my hands. Of course, for the time being, I, Dongfang Han, can only be you, Chen Hao. Ha ha ha. In order to hide from you, in order to take revenge. How much pain and torture have I suffered all these years? That feeling of living a life worse than death, of living an ignoble existence, you will never be able to imagine. Now it's all about to end. It's all about to end. Ha ha. Dongfang Han roared madly in Chen Hao's mind. You are indeed very strong, very strong. In terms of cultivation talent, I admit that I am not as good as you. But the final victor will still be me, Dongfang Han. Ha ha. Everything is about to end. From now on, no one will be able to fight against me, Dongfang Han. You would never have thought of this, right? Ha ha. Yes, I indeed did not think of this. But everything is about to end. This is your final destination. Chen Hao, who was originally filled with fear, said calmly after being sealed by the inextinguishable sword formation. Haha, that's right. This is my final destination. Your physical body is much stronger than I imagined. Not bad. Why are you in despair? Do you know how many times I have been in despair? You can't give up so quickly. I really don't like this feeling. Unfortunately, now is not the time to refine and torture you. I will let you relax for a while. Is that so? Then I have to thank you. I want to see how you will torture me. You will see very soon. The entire martial arts practice field fell silent after a brief moment of exclamation. Everyone stared blankly at Chen Hao, who stood with his sword raised and a stern expression on his face. They were speechless. Even Emperor Yuanru did not expect that things would suddenly develop into such an irreversible situation. Both Chen Hao and Fang Handong were geniuses that only appeared once in 1,000 years. He knew very well that even if one of them was destined to fail to obtain the token, they would make an exception and advance to the next round together. No one would dare to object. Moreover, both of them would definitely become the disciples of the limitless ancestor, Xiaofeng. But now one of them had died in the blink of an eye. Dead. He actually killed Han Dong. This is clearly intentional. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, you can't just ignore this. You can't ignore this. Fan Suixin's voice was filled with strong indignation, unwillingness, and hysteria as he broke the silence of the martial arts arena. Fang Handong's amazing talent had caused his status to rise in just half a year. This was what he relied on to advance further. Moreover, with the advancement of Fang Handong's cultivation, his status and treatment would be improved even more because of this disciple. But now Fang Handong was dead. This meant that the glory and status brought by Fang Handong would be lost. How could he not be angry? Fan Suixin, don't talk nonsense. Fang Handong knew that he was no match for Chen Hao, but he still wanted to snatch the token. He deserved to die. Didn't you see that he wanted to explode and die together with Chen Hao? Fortunately, Chen Hao's combat strength is not comparable to his. Swoosh. Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yunwei rose at the same time, and spoke coldly from afar, defending Chen Hao. At this moment, the two of them were equally shocked. Originally, they were worried that Chen Hao would be at a disadvantage against Fang Handong. They never thought that Chen Hao would be able to kill Fang Handong. Even now, both of them could not figure it out. Chen Hao's last attack could definitely be blocked by a human immortal, so it was unlikely that Fang Handong would explode. No matter how they looked at it, Fang Handong was much weaker than what they knew. Back off. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he waved his hand and sent out 3 waves of energy, ordering Fan Suixin, Senior Immortal Han Mei, and Senior Immortal Yunwei to back off. This is a normal battle. Life and death are up to fate. Chen Hao from Han Mei Hall of Wuxia Immortal Palace wins. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru. Fan Suixin howled, unwilling to give up, and then looked in the direction of Ananxia. Unfortunately, the mother and daughter's expressions did not change at all, as if they did not care about Fang Handong's life or death at all. Fan Suixin sat down dejectedly. A dead genius was not called a genius. Who would stand up for him? I'm so ashamed that I don't have the face to say hello. The new year is my month of tragedy. This month's update is the worst month in history. Let's take a rest for now. There's nothing we can do. When I return to Kunming at the beginning of March, I will do my best to write my story in Wuxian. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 486. Amidst the excited cheers of the disciples of Cold Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall, Chen Hao seemed to have been injured quite badly as well. He flew towards Cold Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall expressionlessly. Brother Hao. Brother. The Lung sisters and Chen Yan's faces shone with excitement as they stood up. Honored Immortal Han Mei and Honored Immortal Yun Wei also stood up with smiles as they welcomed the triumphant return of Chen Hao. Such an outcome was out of everyone's expectations. They were naturally happy for Chen Hao, but including Honored Immortal Han Mei and Honored Immortal Yun Wei, no one knew that the person controlling Chen Hao's body was Dongfang Han. Not bad. Not bad at all. Chen Hao, I have to say that your luck with women is extraordinarily good. Unfortunately, they are all mine. Ha. I will let you watch as they die one by one in my hands. As for how they die, hee. Of course, they will die in ecstasy. Chen Hao looked at the lovely Chen Yan and the charming sisters from afar as he spoke to Chen Hao lustfully in his mind. As he spoke, he naturally opened his arms and cooperated with the dainty beauty Chen Yan who was rushing towards him. He was extremely pleased with himself. He really wanted to know how frustrated Chen Hao would be when Chen Hao's woman threw herself into his arms. Refine me if you have the ability to. Boom. Chen Hao, who was completely suppressed by Dongfang Han, did not resist at first because he thought that Dongfang Han would at least restrain himself a little. Before he refined himself and obtained his memories, he would not act rashly. After all, once the crowd noticed something was amiss, it would not be easy to obtain everything about Chen Hao. However, Chen Hao did not expect that Dongfang Han would actually lay his hands on his sister at this moment. Of course, this lay his hands was only to be intimate with Chen Yan. Such a situation was considered very natural in the eyes of the crowd. However, Chen Hao would not allow it. Even though this was his own body, Dongfang Han was the one in control. How could Chen Hao allow Dongfang Han to hug his sister? Absolutely not. You still want to resist. Suppress him. Facing Chen Hao's soul power that had suddenly soared, Dongfang Han's expression didn't change. However, his sword world suddenly became several times stronger, suppressing Chen Hao's soul. Can you suppress it? I wanted to let you be smug for a while, but since you don't know how to restrain yourself, then I don't have to worry so much. Rumble. Following Chen Hao's cold words, Chen Hao's small world, which was not even worth mentioning in Dongfang Han's eyes, suddenly exploded and spread out in all directions at a terrifying speed. How is this possible? At this time, Dongfang Han suddenly looked at the scene in front of him in shock and disbelief. You said that everything is possible. Is my world really that small? Naive. I let you temporarily control my body because I didn't want to expose that I wanted to possess you. I believe that you didn't want to expose that you wanted to possess me, but you didn't know how to restrain yourself. You can't blame me. I control my body. Suppress it. Rumble. Chi. Countless sword lights condensed from soul energy spread out as Chen Hao's mind expanded. They carried an aura that could destroy the heavens and the earth. Dongfang Han didn't have time to stop them. They instantly broke through Dongfang Han's indestructible sword net. Chen Hao's mind world began to madly corrode Dongfang Han's sword world. Impossible. How can your mind world be so strong? How is this possible? Chen Hao, who was flying in the air, suddenly let out a loud cry and fell down from the sky. Hiss. Seeing this, the beautiful sisters of the Lung family were shocked. Their bodies instantly turned into two streams of light and rushed toward Chen Hao, who seemed to be unable to fly due to his heavy injuries. However, Chi. Rumble. Before the two of them reached Chen Hao, streams of terrifying energy burst out from Chen Hao's body like a flash flood. The beautiful sisters had stepped into the human celestial realm, but at this moment, they couldn't get any closer. At this moment, everyone, including the deputy dean, Holy Master Yuan Ru, who was hosting the competition, looked at Chen Hao in horror. What's going on? What a terrifying aura. Inextinguishable sword essence and destruction sword essence. How can they appear on his body at the same time? Countless masters were surprised and puzzled. The inextinguishable sword essence and the destruction sword essence were two completely incompatible sword principles. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for them to appear on the same person at the same time. However, at this moment, Chen Hao's body burst out with the aura of two sword principles at the same time. Moreover, these two terrifying auras seemed to be in a great battle. They intertwined and produced violent energy fluctuations and explosions. Chen Hao's body, on the other hand, was twisting and changing strangely as the two terrifying energies exploded. It's possession. Yes, it's possession. Feng Handong didn't die. He didn't die. The inextinguishable sword essence is Feng Handong's. My God. What a crazy guy. What a powerful soul. His body was destroyed, but his soul was still able to possess his body without anyone noticing. It's incredible. After a short while, some masters at the celestial prime level and above figured out what was going on. They widened their eyes in horror. Before reaching the human celestial realm, even a half-step human celestial's soul and primordial spirit were quite fragile. Under the terrifying attack of a unique skill, the only result was destruction. However, Feng Handong's soul and primordial spirit had entered Chen Hao's body without anyone noticing. Then they started to possess his body. How could this not be shocking? However, what was equally shocking was the strength of Chen Hao's soul. Possession, possession. Ha ha ha, Handong didn't die, he didn't die. Fan Suixin, who had been in despair, was pleasantly surprised when he realized what was going on. No wonder Handong was so weak today. It turns out that he had a plan. The strength of his soul has reached the Earth celestial stage, which is even stronger than mine. Although Chen Hao's soul is not weak, how could it be compared with Handong's? Ha ha ha. Chen Hao. Chen Hao. Unlike Fan Suixin, Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei, who had been smiling, frowned and rushed toward Chen Hao worriedly. Humph. What do you want to do? Fan Suixin shouted coldly and rushed over. Everyone step back. Just at this moment, Heavenly Master Yuanru suddenly said, Feng Handong has entered Chen Hao's soul residence. No external force can help them in this soul war. If you intervene, both of their bodies and souls will be destroyed at the same time. Geniuses like them are extremely rare on the Wuji star. Unfortunately, only one of them is destined to survive. No matter who survives, I don't want to see him retaliate. Otherwise, the old man will be the first to hunt him down. Condense. Swish. A ray of colorful light was emitted from Heavenly Master Yuanru's hand. It turned into a light sphere with a diameter of 10,000 feet, which protected Chen Hao, who had fallen to the ground. The competition was still going on, but at this moment, most people's attention was on Chen Hao's body. Within the barrier, Chen Hao's body was constantly twisting. Sometimes it was stretched by several times, and sometimes it was twisted like a fried dough twist. But what shocked everyone was that Chen Hao's body seemed to be on the verge of collapse every time, but it still persisted. This caused everyone to tremble with fear and shock. Even some peak earthly immortal experts couldn't help but admire the perfection of Chen Hao's body. Chen Hao will definitely win. Although Feng Handong's soul power is strong, Chen Hao's soul power is not inferior to his. Moreover, Chen Hao's temperament is absolutely incomparable to Feng Handong's. Don't worry, as long as no one intervenes, Chen Hao will be the one to survive. It must be. Venerable Han Mei looked at the nervous crowd and comforted them. However, even though she said so, she and Yun Wei were frowning. Their nervous expressions showed that they didn't have the slightest confidence. At this moment, even the two immortal sovereigns weren't sure who the final winner would be. It was hard to tell which of the two sword essences was stronger. Moreover, Dongfeng Han took the initiative to seize the body. How could he not be confident? In addition to Dongfeng Han's previous performance, Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei had vaguely guessed that the destruction of Dongfang Han's body might be a trap set by him. Mother, can he win? I'm not sure, but his chances of winning should be higher than Chen Hao's. I just didn't expect Chen Hao's soul power to be so strong. I thought he could easily control the situation, but now it seems that he will have to fight hard. In the direction of the limitless demon palace, Guan Nanxia and her daughter, Bailey Ningbing, were talking in a low voice. Chen Hao's soul power is not inferior to Fang Handong's. The battle of seizing the body will depend on who has a stronger temperament. Fortunately, I asked you to wait until he stepped into the human immortal realm before you became his cultivation companion. Otherwise, if something happens, you will suffer a great loss. Now it's best if Fang Handong wins, but if he loses, it won't affect you much. Mother, why won't it affect him much? We finally found the most suitable Fang Handong. If he dies, where can I find him? Isn't Chen Hao the same? Fang Handong has the true essence of the undying sword Dao. Not only did he comprehend the undying sword Dao, but he also obtained a powerful inheritance. After the battle of soul power, even if his divine soul is destroyed, the inheritance will be obtained by Chen Hao. At that time, with your talent and appearance, you will be able to get it from Chen Hao. Mother, he already has many women. I'd rather not cultivate for such a person. Stupid. You are my daughter. Can't you see that his women are still pure? Besides, even if he has many women, so what? He can kill them all with some tricks. Well, it's not very meaningful to talk about this. Fang Handong has a great chance of winning. This person's scheming and temperament are very powerful. Ordinary people can't compare with him. Just wait and see. Okay. Chapter 487. Good. I didn't expect you to hide it so deeply. My soul power and sword world don't have any advantage at all. However, you want to refine me with just this? Dream on. Chi. In Chen Hao's mind, Dongfang Han, who was unprepared and confident of victory, lost control of Chen Hao's body due to Chen Hao's sudden powerful counterattack. However, after a short moment of shock, Dongfang Han calmed down and released an even more condensed and terrifying soul attack. Even though Dongfang Han could clearly feel that Chen Hao's mind world, soul power, and sword realm were not inferior to his, and because of his carelessness, Chen Hao's attack caught him off guard and suppressed him, Dongfang Han was not afraid at all, because he had the confidence to win. In a battle of souls, the stronger the soul power, the higher the chance of victory. This was without a doubt. However, it was not easy for any cultivator to obtain the final victory with just soul power. This could only be done with absolute soul power suppression. Even though Chen Hao's soul power was stronger, it was only on par with his. It was impossible for him to suppress him completely. Therefore, the key to determining the final victory was one's will and temperament. Is that so? Then I'll let you see who's the one dreaming. Rumble. A terrifying explosion, followed by Chen Hao's cold voice, suddenly exploded in Chen Hao's mind. The only battle of souls had officially begun. One had the terrifying inheritance of the undying sword world. The other had the mysterious ancient spiritual treasure. Both of their souls had the perverse experience of soul fusion, and each of them had their own obsession and perseverance. Who would be stronger, and who would be weaker? Who would win and who would lose? No one could be sure. Only Chen Hao and Dongfang Han had absolute confidence in themselves. Chen Hao, who was enveloped by the seven-colored light, emitted two auras that belonged to Chen Hao and Dongfang Han. They became stronger and stronger, and the fluctuations became more and more intense. Everyone stared at this scene with a nervous and shocked expression, completely forgetting about the disciples in the competition. Especially those who were related to Chen Hao and Fang Handong, they were even more nervous. Their mood was like a roller coaster, rising and falling along with the changes in their auras. Time ticked by. Even after all the groups had finished their matches, the soul battle was still going on, and the outcome was still unclear. Sometimes Dongfang Han's soul aura would have the upper hand, and sometimes Chen Hao's soul aura would be slightly stronger. It was hard to tell who was the victor. It was impossible to tell who had the upper hand. However, the overflowing aura naturally became weaker and weaker after Chen Hao's true qi was exhausted. For hours later, other than sensing a slight change in his aura, Chen Hao's physical body remained motionless. Everyone knew that under this seemingly calm surface, the battle of souls had reached a truly dangerous moment. Chi, he, boom, boom, boom. The clash of pure soul and will played out in Chen Hao's mind. Boundless pain crazily attacked Chen Hao and Dongfang Han at the same time. What's this little bit of pain? I, Dongfang Han, have a heart as firm as a rock. No amount of pain can destroy my will. No illusions can affect my state of mind. Break, break. The intense pain of his soul being entangled, torn, and crushed caused Dongfang Han to roar wildly. It was as if he had returned to the moment when the top demon of the eastern continent, Notice Yeqing, had refined his soul. His mind maintained a high fighting spirit, and his will showed no signs of being destroyed under this terrifying pain. Instead, it became even more condensed and thorough. However, Dongfang Han's cries had lost their original absolute confidence, because it was only at this moment that Dongfang Han realized that Chen Hao's soul and will had been condensed to an unimaginable level. What shocked Dongfang Han even more was that every time Chen Hao's will fluctuated, it was like a real physical attack, containing a will that had been condensed to an unimaginable level. Void crystallization, crystallization of thought. Dongfang Han could also do this. This was the symbol of the Earth's celestial stage soul power, but compared to Chen Hao, not bad. I wonder how long you can last? You clown. You were no match for me in the past, and you're still no match for me now. In the future. Oh, sorry, you don't have a future anymore. You think you're awesome because you have the inheritance of the world of swords? To others, maybe. But to me, Chen Hao, you're nothing. Chen Hao's voice was indifferent. Under the unbearable pain of Dongfang Han's soul, he seemed to feel nothing. It's time to increase my power to 30%. You'd better be ready. What did you say? 30%? Dongfang Han was shocked. What do you think? Are you trying to scare me? Do you think I'm an idiot? Your soul and will are indeed stronger than mine, but you're only at the Earth's celestial stage. How much stronger can you be? You can stop dreaming if you want to destroy me psychologically. Don't even mention that you didn't use 30% of your strength. Even if you did use 30% of your strength, you won't be able to destroy my will. The final winner will be me, Dongfang Han. I'd like to see how long you can pretend. You talk too much. Let's start to enjoy the feast. Swish. The sudden increase in pain made Dongfang Han extremely miserable. Now it was far more painful than when he merged with Notice Yeqing's soul. But this was just the beginning. After 10 years of deep sleep, although Chen Hao's soul power was only at the Earth's celestial stage, his soul mutation couldn't be measured by common sense. Especially in terms of will and temperament, it had reached an unattainable level. Dongfang Han's soul was only at the Earth's celestial stage. Even if it was 10 times stronger, as long as he didn't have an absolute advantage in terms of soul power, the final winner would only be Chen Hao. Strong. Really strong. I didn't expect Master's will and temperament to be so strong. Is this the result of these 10 years? Phew. I didn't expect this either. We were worried for nothing. But my physical body is gone. In Chen Hao's mind, the calm god, the treasure-hunting sword spirit, and Atoda, who looked like a frosted eggplant, stared at the two auras and talked in low voices. No one expected Chen Hao to be so relaxed when facing Dongfang Han, whose soul was at the same level as his will and temperament. Let's not idle around, let's get to work. This sword world has been intertwined with our world. They've lost control of the sword world because of their battle. But we're different. Devour and refine it. 5 divine beasts come out. Yes. This chapter is too short, so I'll update it first. Chapter 488. There's a result. Handong. Chen Hao. Brother Hao. Brother. Boss. For hours after the end of the competition, Chen Hao, who was the center of attention, suddenly woke up. At this moment, venerable immortal Han Mei and Fan Suixin's people cried out in surprise and nervousness. Judging from the aura, no one could be sure whether it was Chen Hao or Feng Handong who had woken up. The aura of the Immortal Sword Principle and the Destruction Sword Principle were still intertwined. Logically speaking, it was impossible to wake up at this time. Although the aura was weak, it was obvious that the winner had not been decided yet. However, he had woken up and controlled his physical body. What did this mean? Between Chen Hao and Feng Handong, one of them had already won the battle with ease. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to split his attention to control his physical body at this time. He wouldn't have been able to do it. Who do you think it is? I don't know. It's more likely to be Feng Handong, right? After all, Feng Handong deliberately let Chen Hao destroy his physical body and take over his body. Yes, it must be Feng Handong. It should be Chen Hao. This Chen Hao showed his terrifying strength 10 years ago, and did many incredible things. Although he was in a coma for 10 years, his soul was obviously not injured. This means that the rumors about him being in a coma may be just an excuse for him to practice in seclusion. Not only Venerable Han Mei and Fan Suixin, but also everyone present, including the Vice Dean of Elite Academy X, stared nervously at Chen Hao, who was slowly getting up with doubts in their hearts. However, except for Venerable Han Mei and those who were familiar with Chen Hao, more than half of the people thought that Feng Handong had a higher chance of winning. There was also a very small number of people who did not know Chen Hao but had heard of Chen Hao's deeds 10 years ago. They thought that Chen Hao had a higher chance of winning. Phew. Under everyone's gaze, Chen Hao let out a long sigh. A faint smile appeared on Chen Hao's face as he looked at the people outside the light screen who were shouting at him with nervous expressions. Qi. Empyrean Yuanru's protective light shield suddenly disappeared. Are you Chen Hao? Heavenly Venerate Yuanru floated in front of Chen Hao. His eyes were as vast as the ocean as he stared at Chen Hao in confusion. His voice wasn't loud, but it drifted into everyone's ears. The cultivators who had been speculating and discussing earlier all held their breaths, waiting for Chen Hao's answer. Who was the winner? Or rather, who had the absolute advantage for the time being? Yes. Thank you for your protection, Senior. Can I go now? Chen Hao cupped his fists and bowed. He looked at the light shield that was protecting and imprisoning him. Crash. Chen Hao's answer instantly ignited the entire martial arts practice field. Impossible. Impossible. How could you suppress the strength of Han Dong's soul? How is this possible? Fan Suixin, whose heart was in his throat, felt like he was on a roller coaster. His mood changed from despair to hope. However, after a short 4 hours of waiting, the result was, this old man went crazy again. He roared as if he had gone mad. On the other hand, Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei let out a long sigh of relief. Chen Hao's brothers and sisters screamed excitedly and danced with joy. You're welcome. However, you can't leave for the time being, Empyrean Yuanru said. Why? The outcome has been decided. Moreover, he brought it upon himself. It has nothing to do with me. Senior, I didn't violate the rules of the competition, right? Chen Hao frowned. If Old Man didn't stop you, you definitely didn't violate the rules. However, did you really win? If Old Man didn't guess wrong, you should have the upper hand, right? Yes. It's only a matter of time before I completely refine and destroy him. Chen Hao said in a deep voice. You're wrong. Your soul power is similar to Feng Handong's. Both of you have reached the peak of the later stage of the Earth Celestial stage. The reason why you have the upper hand is that it's in your body. Otherwise, you might not be the one controlling the body now. Moreover, in a battle of souls, especially a battle of possession like yours, the deciding factor is not only soul power. It's still hard to predict who will win in the end. Empyrean Yuanru said calmly. Yes. Empyrean Yuanru, we can't let him leave. Yes, we can't let him leave. The final winner will be Senior Brother Feng. Feng Handong will win. Old Man doesn't favor anyone. If Feng Handong was the one controlling the body now, Old Man wouldn't let him leave either. You should understand what Old Man means, right? Both of you are cultivation geniuses that only appear once in 1,000 years. No matter who wins in the end, the ancestor may take you in as his personal disciple. This old man doesn't want any accidents to happen, so this old man will send you to my grotto heaven until the outcome is decided. During this period of time, this old man can guarantee your safety. No matter who it is, they won't be able to interfere with you. Of course, I'm no exception. All right. Chen Hao nodded. Chen Hao could feel that Emperor Yuanru was not lying. He had no ill intentions toward him. That was indeed the case. Think about it. If Dongfeng Han was the one in control now and he was allowed to leave with Fan Suixin, even if Chen Hao won, he would probably be killed by Fan Suixin. Similarly, if Dongfeng Han had won in Winter Plum Hall, immortal Venerable Han Mei would have killed him. Therefore, Emperor Yuanru's decision was undoubtedly the fairest. One of the two geniuses that only appeared once in 1,000 years was destined to be lost. How could Emperor Yuanru allow both to be lost? Brother Hao. Brother. Boss. When Chen Hao was carried into the air by Emperor Yuanru, the Lung sisters, Chen Yan, Chen Nan, Huyan Aobua, and the others all called out to him. Emperor Yuanru's words made them feel conflicted again. Don't worry, I'll be back. The corners of Chen Hao's mouth curled up slightly with a faint smile. His bright eyes were filled with confidence as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Under the lead of Heavenly Venerate Yuanru, he directly disappeared from everyone's sight. Night fell. Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall. The two immortal venerables and all their disciples were gathered in the side courtyards arranged by the elite academy. Master, the Battle of Souls. How long will it take for the victor to be decided? We're not sure. In a situation where there's a huge difference in strength, it won't take long, from a few minutes to a few hours, to completely destroy the soul of the other party. However, Chen Hao and Fang Handong's souls have both entered the Earth Immortal realm. The soul of an Earth Immortal has reached the level of materialization and crystallization. No matter who it is, it won't be easy to completely destroy the other party. I'm afraid it'll take a long time. At least a few months, at most, a few years. Also what? If the other party's will is firm, and the difference in soul strength isn't that great, it's impossible to destroy them. The only way is to completely shatter their souls and reassemble them. This is also a method that no one dares to use for possession, soul fusion. If it fails, both parties will die together. If it succeeds, one of them will take the lead, and life and death will no longer matter. This kind of soul fusion process usually results in a mutation, and there are two results. One is that after the mutation, the will, temperament, and soul strength will all increase. The other is going crazy and becoming a two-faced person. However, the probability of this happening is very small. At this point, it's useless for us to worry, we can only wait. Venerable Han Mei said. Yes, we can only wait. However, I believe that the final victor will be Chen Hao. This kid has never let us down. The situation 10 years ago is the best proof. It's only a matter of time. Venerable Yin Wei said. In the courtyard of Limitless Demon Palace's Nanxia Hall. I didn't expect Chen Hao's soul strength to be so much stronger than Fang Handong's. It's really hard to say who will win. Ningbing, let's go and find your grandfather. Mother, why are you looking for grandfather? Your grandfather is friends with Heavenly Venerable Yuanru. Mother wants to help Fang Handong? Bailey Ningbing asked. We can't help. Fang Handong and Chen Hao's soul are already intertwined. Not to mention us, even old ancestor Limitless can't help them. They can only rely on themselves. Moreover, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru said that no matter who survives, they will become old ancestor Limitless' direct disciple. This has a limitless future. Even if your grandfather is friends with Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru won't let us interfere in this matter. Mother, what do you mean? As long as you can comprehend the undying sword Tao. The only thing you're lacking now is this. Once you succeed, you won't be inferior to those two. How? You will know when the time comes. The corner of little darling's mouth hooked up into a faint smile as she spoke with confidence. The next morning, Limitless Elite Academy's second round of talent and potential test was held as scheduled. In Limitless Demon Palace's area, many people noticed that Bailey Ningbing was no longer beside Nanxia Hall's palace master. Chen Hao. It doesn't matter who wins or dies. It has nothing to do with me. I just want to comprehend the undying sword Tao. However, if you didn't appear, I would have been able to start comprehending it after this competition. But now, because of you, I have no choice but to choose a lower level of comprehension. In a light-screen Limitless Devil Palace's Nanxia Hall, Guan Nanxia's daughter, who was also the granddaughter of Limitless Devil Palace's palace master, Bailey Ningbing, was sitting cross-legged. Her beautiful face was slightly enchanting as she stared at a figure wrapped in light not far away. Bailey Ningbing's eyes let people know with one look that this was a person full of scheming. Chapter 489. Let's hope Fong Handong wins. I don't have much confidence in comprehending it just by capturing his aura. Bailey Ningbing slowly closed her eyes, her mind carefully enveloping the light shield Chen Hao was in. The moment she closed her eyes, she seemed to have transformed into another person. Ethereal, and illusory at the same time. There was no longer any trace of her scheming look. This was a world specially created by Heavenly Venerate Yuan Ru. It was a true miniature world, not a mental world. This was also a true world that only heavenly immortals could condense in the void outside their bodies. In this world, every action of any living being was under the surveillance of Heavenly Venerate Yuan Ru. At this moment, Bailey Ningbing had borrowed the friendship between her grandfather, the palace master of the Limitless Demon Palace, and Heavenly Venerate Yuan Ru to come here. Of course, it was absolutely impossible for her to attack Chen Hao. The Independent Light Shield's protective seal was a restriction on her true yuan and physical freedom. The only thing she could use was the power of her mind, or in other words, mental force. Moreover, it was limited to the outside of Chen Hao's protective light shield. It was impossible for her to probe inside. The reason the palace master of the Limitless Demon Palace told Heavenly Venerate Yuan Ru was that he wanted his granddaughter, Bailey Ningbing, to come here to comprehend the undying sword Dao and cultivate a supreme technique. Bailey Ningbing suddenly opened her eyes when she sensed the aura emanating from Chen Hao's light shield. The undying will is that strong? Does Fong Handong have the absolute advantage? This completely exceeded Bailey Ningbing's expectations. One had to know that the reason she had used her grandfather's friendship with Heavenly Venerate Yuan Ru to come here was not as simple as it seemed. After all, it was basically impossible to rely solely on aura to comprehend something. She had come because she was worried that the final victor would be Chen Hao. If that was the case, no matter how confident she was, it would not be easy for her to conquer Chen Hao, a youth who was destined to stand at the top of the boundless continent. Especially since she did not have any relationship with Chen Hao and did not even know him. Not only that, but everyone knew that she and Fong Handong were going to become Taoist companions. This was a taboo for most men. Although she was still a virgin, her value would depreciate a lot. In addition, Chen Hao already had many beautiful confidants around him. If she wanted to monopolize Chen Hao, she could only kill everyone by any means necessary. Otherwise, it would be impossible. However, if he were to do that and expose anything to Chen Hao, then the loss would outweigh the gain. She was a person who could not tolerate any flaws. That's the best. If Dongfang Han succeeds, it will save me a lot of trouble. Comparatively speaking, I like this physical body more. But in reality, rumble. The world in Chen Hao's mind was completely different from the weak ripples that Bailey Ningbing sensed. The old god, the treasure hunter sword spirit, Ito Tai, and the 5 divine beasts all moved out. With an unstoppable speed, they frantically destroyed and devoured Dongfang Han's sword world. Although the sword world was destroyed, the aura and will of the inextinguishable sword Dao surged violently and covered the aura together. At the core of the 2 sword worlds, Chen Hao and Dongfang Han's souls had already collided and attacked wildly. The color of Chen Hao's soul seemed to be constantly changing, emitting a dazzling rainbow light. On the other hand, Dongfang Han's soul was pure gold. On the surface, Chen Hao's rainbow light had already completely enveloped the gold color. Not even a trace of golden light could be emitted. It was as if Chen Hao had the absolute advantage. However, judging from the aura, the inextinguishable will was extremely pure. No matter how Chen Hao's aura changed, he was still unable to truly suppress it. Just as Emperor Yuan Ru had said, this was a difficult battle. It was only when he truly wanted to destroy and refine Dongfang Han's soul that Chen Hao realized that things were not as simple as he had imagined. In the end, I still underestimated you. I didn't expect your will to be no weaker than mine. Even under such terrifying pain, you can still maintain your state of mind. At this moment, Chen Hao's mind flashed with crazy thoughts. Even he did not expect that he, who had the absolute advantage, would find it so difficult to refine Dongfang Han's soul. In a battle of souls, whether it was attacking or being attacked, one would have to endure the same amount of pain. Whether it was Dongfang Han or Chen Hao, every time they attacked, the pain the other suffered would be completely reflected on their own soul. There was no room to maneuver. And now, although Chen Hao was far from reaching his limit, he had reached the point where he was gnashing his teeth. However, Dongfang Han was still standing strong. Humph! If you have the guts, then let's destroy each other. Whoever wins will die. Let's settle this once and for all. Is there any use in talking nonsense? With this kind of attack, even if you have 10 years or 100 years, you can forget about destroying my will. Dongfang Han's voice was cold. He was clearly suppressed to the point where he could not retaliate, but he was not afraid at all. There was a belief in his heart. An extremely firm belief that he would be the final victor. Because he had the indestructible sword world. How could he not know that the sword world that was connected to his mind was being wildly destroyed and swallowed by the existence in Chen Hao's mind? However, he did not care at all. He and the sword world were one. As long as his will existed, even if the sword world was completely destroyed and collapsed, he could reform it again with just a thought. Otherwise, how could it become indestructible? And as long as the sword world was not completely destroyed, his mind would always be clear. In reality, in Dongfang Han's state, if he did not have an overwhelming advantage in soul power, he was basically indestructible. Want to destroy it? Only by detonating it and fusing it. That was one of the reasons. Secondly, if Chen Hao was forced to detonate his soul to fuse with him, it would be a battle of will and temperament. And he was full of confidence in his own will and temperament. Is that so? I'd like to see how long you can last. You want me to detonate my soul to fuse with you? I'm sorry, I can't afford to lose face like that. I won't let a dirty soul like you affect me at all. Boom. Chen Hao had no choice but to increase his soul power again. Old God, speed up. At the same time, Chen Hao informed Old God. Don't worry, at most half a month, I'll be able to completely destroy and refine his sword world. That's good. Chen Hao knew very well that Dongfang Han's sword world was connected to his mind, and it would definitely be of great help to him. Just like his mind world, it complemented him. Therefore, only by completely controlling Dongfang Han's sword world could he destroy Dongfang Han's reliance from the root. Ah, looks like you won't turn back until you hit the wall. In that case, I don't mind telling you, even if your soul is 10 times stronger, you can forget about destroying me, let alone my sword world. Ha. That's the inheritance of the indestructible sword world. What is indestructible? I only need 1 year, and my sword world will be reformed. Is that so? You don't believe me? Then I'll show you. Form. Hiss. At this point, Dongfang Han, who was completely suppressed, suddenly released a wisp of extremely pure telekinesis, which instantly pierced through Chen Hao's soul. Rumble, chi. This. In that instant, what shocked Chen Hao and Old God was that the sword world, which had mostly collapsed, suddenly underwent an earth-shattering change. It broke away from Old God's control, and once again formed an independent world. The space was smaller, but the indestructible will that it emitted was more condensed. True indestructible? Old God frowned and sighed. What do you mean? Old God, didn't you say that you've already destroyed and refined it, and controlled a part of it? How could this be? I didn't expect. I really didn't expect. How could the boundless star have a true indestructible inheritance? Chen Hao, if you want to destroy him, I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult. The knowledgeable Old God said to Chen Hao. Old God's current abilities and senses weren't much stronger than Chen Hao's. This was because he and Chen Hao hadn't started the fusion since the last time they'd completed the fusion. Therefore, Old God's abilities hadn't been truly unsealed. That was why he hadn't sensed that this was a true indestructible sword world. What's going on? Indestructible is the highest level of the indestructible sword path. Someone of the same level, or even 2 levels higher, can't truly kill the person who has obtained this inheritance, unless they detonate their soul to fuse with it. But after the fusion, it's hard to say who will become the successor. Also, to be able to obtain the indestructible inheritance, one's soul and will must have been terrifyingly tempered. Even you might not be much stronger than him, Old God said uncertainly. Of course, Old God still had faith in Chen Hao. Especially after these 10 years, even he was unable to determine exactly what level Chen Hao's will had been tempered to. Ha 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 ha. Now you know I'm right, right? I can't do anything to you, but you can't refine me either. The only way is to detonate your soul and fuse with it. If you're a man, then be straightforward. Our grudges must be settled. Either you die or I die. Don't tell me you don't dare. Otherwise, even if you can suppress me, you can forget about fighting anyone else. If you're careless, I'll detonate my soul, and the result will be the same. Ha ha. Although we'll fight to the death, I have to say that you're the most qualified person to be my opponent. Don't make me look down on you. Come. Is there no other way other than to detonate your soul and fuse with it? Chen Hao asked Old God when Dongfang Han was roaring with pride. You're afraid you can't beat him? Old God was slightly worried. At this point, it wasn't a good thing to not have a firm belief. Afraid? Yes, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that his dirty soul will affect my personality. The me on earth and the me in this world are both me. Plus, I didn't have a choice back then. And Dongfang Han is such a narrow-minded, treacherous person. I don't want to be affected without knowing it after I fuse with him. It's not that there's no other way, but completed 2 chapters. Please don't worry, this book will not be unfinished no matter what. Starting a stable update, 2 chapters a day. If there are special circumstances, Dark Mountain will ask for leave to explain. If you like this book, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 490. Say it. As long as you don't have to fuse with his soul. Chen Hao asked. Alright, you can say it, but if you want to do it, you have to be careful. This is much more dangerous than detonating your soul to fuse with him. Once you fail, you will be doomed. Old God's voice was extremely serious. The undying indestructible inheritance is an extremely rare and difficult inheritance. It and the inheritor support each other, which is equivalent to having 2 lives. As long as you can maintain your consciousness, you will be invincible. Other than detonating your soul to fuse with Dongfang Han, the other method is to seize the undying indestructible world. Seize. Yes. To do this, your soul must enter his undying indestructible world. If you do that, Dongfang Han's soul power will increase several times in his world, which is not a good thing for you. Furthermore, you must withstand stronger attacks and truly comprehend the undying sword way. Furthermore, your realm must be higher than Dongfang Han's, so that your mind can completely fuse with his world and seize the inheritance. If that is the case, it will be easy to destroy Dongfang Han's soul. It's that simple. That's simple? Right now, your 2 soul palaces are fighting, and his undying indestructible world is fighting against your mental world. This is a relatively fair battle, but your soul power is only slightly higher than Dongfang Han's. But what about after you enter his undying world? His soul power will increase several times, and if you can't withstand it, you will be destroyed by him. Furthermore, the prerequisite is that you must use a large portion of your soul power to suppress Dongfang Han. Otherwise, he will detonate his soul, and the result will be soul fusion. Haha. Old God, you seem to have forgotten that my main sword way is the secular sword way. There is one more thing you don't know. What? With the endurance of my soul, even if his soul power increases by 10 or 20 times, he will not be able to shake my will, let alone a few times. Just wait and see. Gee. All of a sudden, Chen Hao's soul, which was shining with dazzling 7-colored light, disappeared, leaving behind only his immense soul power to suppress Dongfang Han. No matter how much Dongfang Han howled in disdain, Chen Hao ignored him. Undying indestructible. Undying indestructible. What is undying indestructible? When my lifespan ends, all living things die, but I will not die. When the mountains and rivers shatter, the heavens and earth collapse, I will not die. Chi chi chi. Rumble. Under the control of Dongfang Han's will, countless terrifying sword lights in the undying and imperishable world crazily and unceasingly strangled Chen Hao's soul. However, amidst the excruciating pain in his soul, Chen Hao's mind was completely clear. He casually activated the will of the secular sword way, and various words related to the undying and imperishable world appeared in his mind. He did not let go of the general principles of the Great Tao, the 3,000 Great Taos, and all the supreme techniques he had cultivated and seen before, all of which confirmed the aura of the undying sword way, the art of longevity. From high to low level, Chen Hao caught the mantra of the 16th level of the art of longevity that he had obtained from Elder Xiao and the Dongfang family. Suddenly his mind shook. No matter what, Chen Hao did not expect that he would adjust his state of mind and organize all the mantras related to the undying and imperishable world in his mind, so that he could integrate his state of mind into the will of the undying and imperishable world faster. After all, although Chen Hao had the secular swordway inheritance, he had never activated the undying swordway, and he did not know what state of mind he should use to activate it. However, what he did not expect was that when the low-level supreme technique, the art of longevity, that he had long abandoned and put to the back of his mind, appeared in his mind, he did not need to control it, and it integrated into a mysterious state of mind. This feeling was as if a super expert had suddenly returned to the past and started cultivating from the basics again. It was easy and comfortable. If that was all, Chen Hao would not be so surprised. What really shocked him was that when he entered the state of mind of the art of longevity, mysterious words suddenly rushed into his mind, just like the words of the second half of the art of longevity that he had obtained from the Dongfang family. Just based on the words alone, he was sure that they were written by one person. Longevity, immortality, immortality, that is undying and imperishable. The art of longevity, it is actually related to the art of longevity. No wonder Dongfang Han could obtain such a powerful inheritance. No wonder the mantra of the art of longevity is unique. Chen Hao thought to himself in shock as he accepted the words that automatically rushed into his mind from Dongfang Han's world of immortality and imperishable. Back then, as his cultivation level increased, he had no choice but to change the mantra of the supreme technique. However, at that time, he always had a feeling that the art of longevity was not as simple as he had imagined. However, he did not know why it was not simple at that time, and he only discovered it by comparing it with other techniques. This was because the mantra of the art of longevity was completely different from any other supreme technique. This situation did not exist in other supreme techniques. No matter how high the level of a supreme technique's mantra was, it would have something in common with a low-level one. However, the art of longevity did not. As for why it was not simple, Chen Hao did not know. Now, Chen Hao finally understood. The art of longevity was only the lowest level of the three parts of the world of immortality and imperishable. The second level was the art of immortality, and the third level was the imperishable mantra. They were collectively known as the world of immortality and imperishable. Good, this is simply too good. The art of immortality is a supreme technique from the Golden Core realm to the creation realm, while the imperishable mantra is a supreme technique at the immortal prime level. Unfortunately, I have only obtained the first level of the art of immortality. This is obviously limited by my own realm of the world of immortality and imperishable. This means that I only need to cultivate to a higher realm than Dongfang Han, and I can easily obtain the inheritance of the world of immortality and imperishable. Phew. When the motionless Chen Hao, who was obviously immersed in the battle of souls, suddenly heaved a long sigh of relief, Bailey Ningbing, who was enveloped by a light barrier not far away, was abruptly awakened. He's awake? The result is out so quickly? Bailey Ningbing thought to herself as she stared at Chen Hao in a daze. Bailey Ningbing? When Chen Hao's soul returned to his body, he instantly sensed a presence and opened his eyes. When he was at the training ground, Chen Hao's mind had already sensed Bailey Ningbing. After all, according to the rumors, Bailey Ningbing was Dongfang Han's Dao companion. which meant that she was his enemy. Of course, Chen Hao would be concerned about her. Fang Handong? Is that you? You won? Bailey Ningbing was slightly surprised, her eyes filled with confusion. What are you doing here? Chen Hao did not answer Bailey Ningbing's question. He frowned slightly and asked with a hint of sharpness in his eyes. Looks like the battle isn't over yet. You're Chen Hao, right? Don't worry, I can't do anything to you. Heavenly Lord Yuanru allowed me to be here. As for why, I'm sorry. I'll tell him or you when the battle is over. This is Heavenly Venerate Yuanru's Grotto Heaven. No one can harm you, so you can continue. Also, I can tell you something first. Fang Handong was originally chosen by my mother as my Taoist companion. If the final victor is you, then I can only seek repayment from you. You will replace him and become my Taoist companion. Also, I'm a virgin. I've only met Dongfang Han a few times. There are no feelings between us. Bailey Ningbing spoke frankly with assurance. Her eyes were cold and her expression was calm. She looked straight at Chen Hao as if she was talking about the most ordinary thing. However, as she spoke, Chen Hao's slightly opened eyes widened. Are you kidding me? Sorry, I'm not kidding. If he dies, you'll be my Tao companion, my man. Of course, if he lives, it's even better. So you're saying that the one who wanted to possess me is your father? If he dies and I live, I'll be your father? Chen Hao said sarcastically without holding back. I don't have a father. If there's such a thing, I'll kill you for revenge. Nonsense. Let me tell you, no matter what your motive is, I'm not interested in you. Dongfang Han, your Tao companion Fang Handong, is dead for sure. Don't even think about repaying with your body. Revenge is welcome. After Chen Hao finished speaking, he closed his eyes and ignored her. He began to cultivate the first level of the art of immortality. He thought that Bailey Ningbing would say something else. However, to his surprise, Bailey Ningbing did not say anything. The Wuxia Elite Academy's test ended 3 days later. Although Chen Nan, Chen Shui, and the other 8 disciples of Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall had successfully become Elite Academy's disciples and obtained good results, no one was happy about their success. They were all waiting for Chen Hao's news. Half a month later, Yuanru Tianzuan told everyone that the soul battle between Chen Hao and Fang Handong might take another year or so. Only then did Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yunwei leave with the disciples who had failed the test. Huyan Aobua, Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and the others also began their training in the Elite Academy. As for the Lung sisters who had reached the Immortal Realm, they did not choose to leave the Wuji Star. Instead, they stayed in the Extreme Sun School to cultivate and wait for the final result. What is he doing? It's been 4 months and there's no change in his aura. It shouldn't be like this. Could he be cultivating? Impossible. The soul battle is not over yet. It's good enough that he can suppress Dongfang Han's soul. How could he be cultivating? If there's the slightest mistake, Dongfang Han can detonate his soul and shatter his soul palace. Then, the soul fusion will happen. With Dongfang Han's inextinguishable will, his chances of winning are naturally higher. For a whole 4 months, Chen Hao sat cross-legged and did not move at all. Other than the constant influx of spiritual energy from the heavens and earth, the aura of the inextinguishable sword Wei remained stable. However, the aura of Chen Hao's inextinguishable sword Wei was nowhere to be seen. This situation made Bailey Ningbing very puzzled. However, she could not send out her divine sense into Chen Hao's light shield to investigate in detail. However, judging from the speed of the influx of spiritual energy, Chen Hao was cultivating. However, she felt that it was not possible. In fact, Chen Hao was indeed immersed in the cultivation of the art of immortality. Moreover, he had broken through 4 levels consecutively. On average, he broke through 1 level per month. Originally, with Chen Hao's level of comprehension and level, it was impossible for him to cultivate the first few levels of the art of immortality that were lower than his level to be so slow. The reason why it was slow was because most of his soul power and mind were used to suppress Dongfang Han, who would attack and curse wildly from time to time. First update. There's another update tonight. Chapter 491. Although Dongfang Han hasn't become a human immortal, I'm afraid he has already cultivated the immortal mantra. Immortality mantra. In 4 months, I've only cultivated the 4th level. Based on this speed, won't I need at least half the time to cultivate the immortality mantra? Too slow. No, I have to think of a way. I have to speed up. What should I do? When Chen Hao cultivated the 4th level of the immortality mantra, the mental mantra of the 5th level naturally flowed into his mind. Chen Hao had a feeling that to cultivate the 5th level, he would need at least a month. At this rate, it was too slow. He had been in a coma for 10 years and had just come out. He hadn't had time to understand the situation of the others from the Lung sisters and the others, and now he was in this situation. Anyone would be depressed. Dongfang Han obtained this inheritance because of the immortality mantra. He only suddenly rose in power in the past 6 months, and he came from the devil realm of the East Continent. With his character, if his cultivation had surpassed mine, he wouldn't have concealed his identity and wouldn't have sought revenge on me. This means he must have come to the Central Continent 6 months ago, and had just stepped into the half-step human immortal stage when he came. And this time, when I fought with him, he wanted to take over my body. If I'm not wrong, he must have had the experience of taking over someone else's body. Otherwise, how could he have improved so quickly? Moreover, Elder Xiao once said about their master, then the biggest possibility is that Dongfang Han obtained this inheritance in the immortal path of the East Continent more than 10 years ago when his cultivation was very low. He obtained it when his cultivation was very low. Yes, maybe this will work. After pondering for a short while, Chen Hao's mind flashed as he thought of a possibility. While fighting for the immortality world, I'll comprehend and cultivate at the same time. As long as I can refine a little, this immortality world will provide me with some help. I don't need much, just the space around me will be enough. That way, my soul strength will increase by several times. With this, it will become easier and easier for me. I can divide my attention more and more, and my speed will naturally be faster. I should have thought of this earlier. Let's begin. Hiss hiss hiss. In Dongfang Han's immortality world, Chen Hao's soul emitted rainbow-colored tentacles that spread into the surrounding space. This was definitely a very dangerous thing to do. After all, even though his soul was here, 90% of his soul power was suppressing Dongfang Han. The remaining 10% of his soul power still had to withstand the sword intent attack of the undying and imperishable world. Furthermore, he had to split some of his attention and soul power. But Chen still did it. Level 5 success. Level 6 level. Level 9. Originally, Chen Hao needed 5 months to master the last 5 levels of the Chant of Eternal Life. However, in just 2 months, Chen Hao had stepped into the 9th level of the Chant of Eternal Life. Furthermore, in the undying and imperishable world, the area within 1,000 feet of him seemed to have become independent from the original world. Dongfang Han's attacks, which were controlled by his will, could not even get close to Chen Hao. Now the two of them had entered a state of competition between refining and counter-refining. Chen Hao would snatch some, and Dongfang Han would snatch some back. They continued to enter a state of tug-of-war. What drove Dongfang Han crazy was that he clearly had the absolute advantage in terms of cultivation level, and this was originally his world. Yet from beginning to end, it was enveloped by a mysterious and profound aura, causing Chen Hao's territory to slowly increase. Furthermore, as Chen Hao's cultivation of the art of immortality and indestructibility increased, the speed of his snatching also slowly increased. It's finally the immortality world. I'm afraid it'll take some time to comprehend this immortality world. Now it's definitely not a problem for me to completely occupy this immortality world, but it'll definitely take a very, very long time. It's better to cultivate until I have the absolute advantage. Only then will I be able to destroy Dongfang Han's mental imprint as easily as crushing dry weeds. Let's begin. The last level of the immortality world took Chen Hao a month to comprehend. However, this was already considered fast. With Chen Hao's cultivation level, the 9th level of the immortality world was a domain that Chen Hao had yet to reach. Under such circumstances, it was impossible to complete it in a month without an extremely high level of comprehension. And now, the immortality world was at a level that Chen Hao had yet to reach. It could support the mental cultivation of an immortality world expert. Of course, Chen Hao knew that it would be even more difficult to cultivate. However, his soul realm had already reached the peak of the late Earth immortal stage. He would definitely be able to comprehend it. It was only a matter of time. In Chen Hao's opinion, it would be faster than stopping cultivation and directly refining the immortality world. Sharpening the axe would not delay the work of chopping wood, right? Chi. This. When Chen Hao was immersed in the first level of the immortality world, Bailey Ningbing, who was sitting cross-legged not far away, was suddenly awakened by the terrifying energy fluctuations of heaven and earth. How can it be so intense? Impossible. Bailey Ningbing couldn't believe her eyes. When Chen Hao was cultivating the immortality world secret, his rate of absorption of heaven and earth's energy was shocking, but it wasn't to the extent that Bailey Ningbing, who was at the human immortal stage, was shocked. But now, even if Mother absorbed heaven and earth's energy with all her might, she wouldn't be able to reach such a terrifying speed. She's at the peak of the late Earth immortal stage, and he's only at the creation stage. He's not even a human immortal. How can he reach such a speed? Could it be that he's really cultivating? And it's some kind of ultimate technique of the Earth immortal stage? At this moment, the space in the immortality world rippled. Greetings, Senior Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru. No need for formalities. Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru's face was filled with shock. He didn't even look at Bailey Ningbing. He merely waved his hand and looked straight at Chen Hao. After a while, his gaze turned to intense joy. Good boy, you're really cultivating. And this aura. I didn't expect it to be like this. Haha. I really didn't expect this. No wonder the Patriarch isn't anxious. Everything is under the Patriarch's control. Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru murmured. Which one of them does it belong to? It should belong to Chen Hao. Otherwise, with the absolute advantage, it would have ended long ago. But now. Strange, this is really strange. Could it be that Chen Hao has cultivated the immortality world secret? After a brief moment of pleasant surprise, Empyrean Yuanru sensed an aura that he couldn't be more familiar with coming from Chen Hao's body. He felt a bit confused. It should be. It seems like Feng Handong is hiding many secrets. His identity as the demon realm of the eastern continent must be fake. Senior Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru, he's... Bailey Ningbing asked in confusion when Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru looked at her again. It's nothing. Have you comprehended anything? No. In the past few months, the aura of the undying sword Dao he's emanating has always been very weak. I can't capture much of it. How about this? It's useless for you to continue staying here. It's unlikely that the inheritance of the undying sword Dao will be separated from him. Moreover, Feng Handong basically has no hope of winning, so you'll have to rely on yourself to comprehend it. This chapter has fewer words. It's Friday today, and I forgot about I am a singer. This show is pretty good. I recommend it to everyone. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian.com. Chapter 492. Heavenly Lord Yuanru looked at Bailey Ningbing with a strange expression, then nodded and disappeared from the grotto heaven. 2 months later, a pure, heavy and mysterious aura emanated from Chen Hao's body. It condensed into a ray of golden light, like an unearthly sword that pierced through the heavens and earth. It had transcended beyond Heavenly Lord Yuanru's grotto heaven. Bailey Ningbing's eyes widened in shock. At this moment, Chen Hao's handsome face and all of his exposed skin flickered with a dazzling golden light, and he gave others an aura that was ancient and eternal like the stars in the sky. The first stage success. Although Chen Hao had used 90% of his soul energy to suppress Dongfang Han, he could still feel his own strength and the strength of his body at this moment. His body was like a sword, his heart was like a sword, his sword chi soared into the sky, and his sword will was indestructible. Whether it was the realm of the sword Dao, sword will, or the strength of his body, Chen Hao could clearly feel that he had truly improved. Huff! Chen Hao slowly opened his eyes. His deep black eyes emitted 2 rays of light that were as bright as the stars. It's only the first stage of the immortality technique, but it's already so powerful. I'm only at the blessed realm now, but I'm afraid even a mid-stage human immortal expert wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure of my sword will. Chen Hao thought to himself. He inadvertently glanced at Bailey Ningbing, who was looking at him in surprise, and closed his eyes again. So strong. Chen Hao didn't know that his casual glance had caused Bailey Ningbing, who had already stepped into the human immortal realm, to feel her soul being imprisoned. An inexplicable fear rose in her heart. This was something that had never happened before when he met Heavenly Lord Yuanru. Of course, this didn't mean that Chen Hao was stronger than Heavenly Lord Yuanru. That was impossible. How many times stronger is he than Feng Handong? It's only been 9 months. Moreover, he had to divert a large portion of his soul energy and divine sense to suppress Feng Handong. And yet he's already so strong. Chen Hao. No, how can I be? Hiss. Just as Bailey Ningbing was in a trance and lost her calm, Empyrean Yuanru appeared once again. Compared to the last time, his gaze was even more shocked. He stared blankly at the gradually dissipating sword light, his lips and beard trembling slightly. So Dongfeng Han has only comprehended the first level of the immortal mantra, but why is there such a huge difference between him and me despite being at the same level? Now if I use all my strength to seize the immortal and indestructible inheritance, I can succeed in half a year at most. After Chen Hao closed his eyes, his consciousness jumped out of his physical body and fused into his soul again. He thought to himself as he sensed the vast undying and imperishable world. Let's break through to the second layer in one go. Chen Hao once again separated his divine sense and began to cultivate. Impossible, impossible. They were at the same level. So why was he so strong? Am I really not as good as him? Are you really inferior to him? Why? Dongfeng Han, who was suppressed by Chen Hao's divine sense, could clearly sense the situation in the immortal and indestructible world. Originally, when Chen Hao chose this method, he thought Chen Hao was purely seeking death, but the ideal was perfect, but the reality was cruel. Chen Hao's endurance was 10 times, 100 times stronger than he imagined. What destroyed his soul even more was that Chen Hao actually discovered the secret of the immortal and indestructible world. Using the art of longevity as a guide, he began to seize the immortal and indestructible world's inheritance. At that moment, he went crazy. But even though he had the absolute advantage in terms of level, he couldn't stop Chen Hao from slowly seizing it. Why? Is it because I've cultivated other inner force unique skills? The heavens are blind. Dongfeng Han, who had never truly despaired, was really despairing at this moment. He always thought that what he lacked was luck and opportunity. Compared to Chen Hao, he was stronger in terms of comprehension, aptitude, and temperament. One day, he would be able to ruthlessly trample on Chen Hao, but in fact, Dongfeng Han had guessed correctly. Strictly speaking, Dongfeng Han's temperament, aptitude, and comprehension were comparable to Chen Hao in all aspects. Even if he was a little inferior, it was limited. They were both in the soul stage of the Earth's celestial stage, and had cultivated the same cultivation method, so the gap between them should be very small. To be exact, at the beginning, Chen Hao wanted to seize the immortal and indestructible world and cultivate at the same time. It was impossible for him to do that. But Chen Hao did it. And when he reached this stage, he was more than 10 times stronger than Dongfeng Han. The fundamental reason was that Dongfeng Han didn't cultivate the art of longevity when he was a child. Instead, he cultivated a low-level inner force mental cultivation method. And Elder Shao, who obtained the first half of the art of longevity, led Chen Hao to start with the art of longevity from the beginning. Chen Hao was the real authentic art of longevity. Hope? Where's the hope? Where's the hope? No, I don't want to die like this. I don't want to die like this. Even if I die, I will peel off a layer of skin from you. Dongfeng Han, in a state of true despair, finally made a desperate struggle. What? Chen Hao, who had been paying attention to Dongfeng Han, wasn't too surprised when he saw this scene. He didn't even move and let Dongfeng Han do whatever he wanted. Of course, he knew the consequences of Dongfeng Han's self-detonation of his soul strength. It was nothing more than a desperate attempt to destroy all his soul strength. For ordinary people, this would cause serious consequences. But for Chun Hao, it wasn't the case. Soul strength was fundamentally different from true core strength. After true core strength was consumed, it could be recovered quickly through cultivation. But after soul strength was consumed, it couldn't be recovered at all. Of course, it wasn't impossible to improve it. After Chun Hao stepped into the human celestial stage, his soul strength would naturally increase. The amount of increase was fixed. But last time, after burning his soul strength, Chun Hao, who had a mutated soul strength, had been in a mysterious state for 10 years. His soul strength was no longer irrecoverable under the same cultivation stage. Come on, ha ha ha. Although Chun Hao didn't care, he still stopped his cultivation at this time. His soul strength didn't move, but a part of his soul strength was used to resist Dongfang Han's madness. Before your soul strength dissipates, I might as well tell you that my soul strength can recover by itself, ha ha ha. Chun Hao was in a good mood and laughed loudly. The grudge of many years was finally going to be completely resolved. Of course he was excited and even proud. Impossible. Ah. Rumble. Rumble. Nothing is impossible. Go and regret it. Ha ha ha. 10 years ago, my soul strength was severely damaged. Until now my cultivation stage hasn't improved. Why is my soul strength perfect? Are you an idiot? Ha ha ha. Okay, you can't verify it. Die. Chi. Rumble. Rumble. There were continuous explosions. Chun Hao's soul strength and Dongfang Han's terrifying soul strength seemed to have turned into the most terrifying mysterious fire, burning fiercely. Cough cough. I really can't calm down. My speed is already slow. Under such a state of mind it's really torturous. That's all for today, and the word count is a little short. The results should be out in the next 2 days. If this continues, I'm going to go crazy. Please understand that I rely on writing for a living. I can't not care at this time. Chapter 493. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Ah. Dongfang Han's heart-wrenching screams gradually weakened until they were drowned out by the terrifying explosion of soul power. Pooh. 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 Streams of blood spurted out from Chun Hao's body like a fountain. The terrifying explosion of soul power and Dongfang Han's desperate counterattack caused Chun Hao's soul power to be burnt by 90%. At the same time, his state of mind was also severely affected. In the end, he was unable to completely stabilize his body. Phew. It's over, it's finally over. Chun Hao exhaled weakly but felt extremely relaxed. From the beginning of his training until now, Dongfang Han could be said to be the only opponent that could truly threaten him. Although later on, Chun Hao's cultivation level increased and his continuous protection of the Xiao family increased, he did not take it to heart. But every time he thought of Dongfang Han's scheming, he would feel a sense of unease. Not towards himself, but towards the Xiao family. At this moment, it had finally been completely resolved. The shadow that had haunted Chun Hao for so many years had finally disappeared. Condense. Not daring to waste any time, Chun Hao gathered his remaining soul power and gathered all the shattered, colorless and formless soul fragments. I'm curious how this guy managed to avoid being hunted down until now. Also, he must have many secrets on him. Once I've completely refined these soul fragments, I'll know. Chun Hao wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth and looked indifferently at Bailey Ningbing who was staring at him. Then he closed his eyes again. Refining the soul fragments. Although it was not the same as soul fusion where one could obtain Dongfang Han's complete memories, but one could still obtain a lot of information. It's already been a year and 3 months. Sister, the vice principal said that Brother Hao would come out in a few days. But it's already been a month. Why is there still no news? Don't worry, the vice principal was only guessing when he told us. Anyway, it's already confirmed that Brother Hao will definitely win. We just have to wait patiently. It shouldn't be too long. Let's go, we'll go find Sister Shui and the rest. Lung Ning Lu and Lung Ning Huan were discussing in a low voice within a training room in the Elite Academy's core. After saying that, they each picked up a silver, exquisitely made hat beside them. To be precise, it should be a helmet. If Chun Hao saw it, he would definitely think that it was a gaming helmet from Earth that was not technologically mature. In fact, the function of this helmet was similar to the game helmets on Earth, except that it was hundreds and thousands of times more advanced and had reached 100% realism. It could even be said that it was a powerful magic treasure that could allow cultivators to enter the real virtual universe, the Soul Realm helmet. The Spirit Helmet brought cultivators into the virtual universe, known as the Second Universe. When a cultivator's divine consciousness entered it, their perception would be 100% the same as the real thing. 10 years ago, if Chun Hao had the opportunity to participate in the Elite Academy's assessment, and if he had been able to break into the top 1,000 of the entire Elite Academy, he would have had the opportunity to obtain the Soul Helmet. This was a way to obtain it in advance before becoming a human immortal. Cultivators who had become human immortals would be able to obtain them. This meant that the minimum requirement to enter the Second Universe was human immortal. It was just that Limitless Star was but one of the most ordinary life planets in the vast universe. Only Spirit City and Elite Academy X could connect to the virtual universe with the Spirit Helmets, allowing practitioners from all over the universe to gather in the virtual world at any time. Yo, aren't these the beautiful sisters of Wuxia Star? Have you thought about it? 2 rays of white light flashed, and the beautiful sisters of the Lung family appeared in a huge city. A bustling crowd walked through it. At a glance, it was 100 times, 1,000 times more prosperous than any city in the real world. Any cultivator who entered the Second Universe for the first time would be shocked by the aura of the heavenly Tao that filled the air. If one were to comprehend the heavenly Tao here, it would definitely be 10 times, 100 times stronger than anywhere else in the real world. However, not long after the beautiful sisters sent out the message through the communicator in the Second Universe, they saw someone they did not want to see. Let's go. Lung Ninghuan pulled Lung Ningli's hand without saying a word. Without even looking at the person, they turned around and wanted to go around the person. Hee, you really don't know what's good for you. It's your good fortune that I've taken a liking to you. If you agree now, there will be benefits for you in the future. When the Wuxia Star is bought by my family, it will be different. Ha ha ha. The person's figure flashed and blocked the beautiful sisters once again. He said arrogantly and disdainfully. His aura was also that of a human immortal, and he looked like a young man in his 20s. Beside him were 5 other young men with mocking faces. Obviously, they were not good people. However, the crowd who saw this scene did not dare to say anything. They even quietly retreated, as if this had nothing to do with them. Scram. At this moment, a voice suddenly appeared and blocked the beautiful sisters of the Lung family. Sister Shui. Chen Shui? TSK. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you've become a level 1 elite disciple. Let me tell you, 1 month later, I Shimen Feng will be promoted to a level 1 elite. I've said it before. All of you in the Wuxia Star will become my slaves. Ha ha ha. Clang. Scram. Chen Shui's face became extremely cold at this moment. However, she did not say anything and directly drew her sword. A sharp and cold aura instantly covered a radius of 100 feet. Let's go. Although the young man who called himself Shimen Feng was extremely arrogant, a trace of fear flashed across his face. He glared at Chen Shui fiercely and left with the other young men. Sister Shui, you know this shameless person? There's no one in the Wuxia Star who doesn't know him. Why is he looking for trouble with us? You just stepped into the Second Universe not long ago. There are many things that you don't know. Let's go to our residence first. Chen Shui frowned and shook her head. At this moment, even the beautiful sisters could see that Chen Shui was worried. The 3 of them used their fastest speed to arrive at a slightly shabby courtyard at the edge of the city. Such a shabby courtyard was quite luxurious for cultivators who were qualified to enter the Second Universe. Of course, this referred to cultivators in the Wuxia Star. Even Venerable Celestial Han Mei, Venerable Celestial Yun Wei, and the others did not have their own residence. A few years ago, when Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian stepped into the human celestial stage one after another, Venerable Celestial Han Mei and Venerable Celestial Yun Wei used their savings to buy this courtyard in the Second Universe. Although it was shabby, as long as one entered it, they would be able to cultivate in peace. It was much better than comprehending the law of heaven in the outside world. Moreover, it could be a place for everyone to gather. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 494. Phew. You've been guarding me here for more than a year. You're really patient. What do you want from me? Oh no, Dongfang Han? What do you want from him? Immortal Sword Dao? Another month later, within the abode, Chen Hao opened his eyes in high spirits, and his spirit energy and essence were filled to the extreme. Moreover, the aura of his entire body had even undergone a shocking change. Obviously, his soul and mental state had obtained an extremely great improvement. Faced with Chen Hao's bright eyes and direct questioning, Bailey Ningbing frowned. Although she did not avoid his gaze in the slightest, her heart skipped a beat for no reason. As a girl favored by the heavens, she had always been conceited and had the right to be conceited. Among her peers, no one had ever caught her attention in terms of appearance, talent, and realm, until Fang Handong and Chen Hao appeared. Fang Handong's admiration for her at first sight, and his humility to please her made her feel even more complacent and proud deep in her heart. All these factors gave her absolute confidence that she could conquer Chen Hao. Especially this time, she had taken the initiative. But now, faced with Chen Hao's cold gaze and slightly teasing tone, she realized that the man in front of her was fundamentally different from Dongfang Han. Not only did he not show any interest in her appearance, but he also seemed to be dismissive of her talent, identity, and status. You don't have to answer. Whether it's true or not, I'll disappoint you. Chen Hao waved his hand to stop Bailey Ningbing when she opened her mouth to speak. At the same time, he sent out a stream of energy directly into the protective light shield. In the blink of an eye, Heavenly Lord Yuanru appeared in the grotto heaven. Done. Yes, thank you for your help in the past year. Chen Hao smiled and cupped his fists. In the past year, especially when he cultivated the immortal technique, Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not make a move, but he was still a great help to Chen Hao. Without the endless supply of energy from the grotto heaven, Chen Hao's speed would be greatly reduced. You're welcome. Looks like you've recovered well. Heavenly Sovereign Yuanru's eyes burned like torches, as if he wanted to see through Chen Hao. Unfortunately, even he couldn't sense the extent to which Chen Hao's soul had recovered. In the cultivation world of the Wuxia planet, even the palace masters of the three major palaces didn't think that soul wounds could be truly healed. This was because a spiritual medicine that could truly repair the soul was not something they could afford. When Dongfang Han had not hesitated to use his life to heavily injure Chen Hao's soul, Yuanru Sky Sovereign had already known about it. Unfortunately, he had not been able to stop it. He had not expected Dongfang Han to be so decisive. However, he wasn't really worried. He believed that the limitless ancestor would definitely repair Chen Hao at all costs, because this was probably the only hope of the limitless star. Oh, Senior, can I leave now? Chen Hao asked. Of course you can. Old man isn't imprisoning you. Now that the results are out, you are free. However, the patriarch wants to see you. I'll take you to him now. Cough cough. Senior, are you talking about the limitless ancestor? Of course. Who else on the limitless star is worthy of being addressed as the patriarch? Senior, I'm more than happy to see the patriarch, but I've just woken up, and I'm not even a human immortal yet. I don't want to leave the limitless star yet. Haha, you're thinking too much. Why would you need to leave the limitless star to see the patriarch? You'll know once you get out of my grotto heaven. Also, don't call me senior anymore. Call me senior brother. Senior brother? Chen Hao asked in surprise. Haha. Yuanru Sky Sovereign smiled mysteriously. He didn't answer the surprised Chen Hao for now. Instead, he looked at Bailey Ningbing, who looked a little embarrassed and curious. Bailey Ningbing, old man has done what he promised your grandfather. Now let me send you back. Senior, wait. Pfft. Bailey Ningbing wanted to say something else, but was sent out of the grotto heaven by Yuanru Sky Sovereign's power. Haha. Yuanru Sky Sovereign's expression turned even more amiable as he walked up to Chen Hao. Little junior brother, You already had the right to be my junior brother when you started cultivating the longevity art. Now that you've obtained the undying and indestructible legacy Master left behind, you're naturally Master's last disciple. Senior. Chunhao was taken aback. He'd only thought that it was because of his talent. He'd never thought that it had anything to do with the undying and indestructible legacy. Yuanru Skysovereign's words confirmed his suspicions. The longevity art was the key to obtaining the undying and indestructible legacy. Senior? Alright, I'll explain it to you first. When you see Master, you'll naturally understand what's going on. I'm sure you've already guessed who our Master is. After all, it's no secret that I'm the Patriarch's fourth disciple. As he spoke, Chunhao appeared in a large hall under Yuanru Skysovereign's control without even feeling it. Chunhao, on the other hand, was deeply ashamed. At best, he only knew the honorific titles or titles of Heavenly Lord Yuanru and Patriarch Wuji in the world of cultivation. The only thing he knew about their relationship was that they were the principal and vice principal of the elite academy of Wuji. How would he know that they were master and disciple? 5,000 years ago, Master left behind 5 great legacies in the mundane world of the boundless planet. 4 of them were obtained by eldest senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother, and I. Among the 4, I was the latest to obtain it. I only obtained it 2,000 years ago. Your undying and indestructible legacy is one of the 5 legacies Master left behind. It's also the strongest of the 5 legacies. In fact, only the undying and indestructible legacy was what Master looked forward to the most. Fortunately, you appeared. This senior brother, to tell you the truth, this legacy was originally Feng Handong's, Chunhao said bluntly. Haha, even if you didn't say it, I'd have guessed it. It's just that I found it strange at first. After Feng Handong obtained the undying and indestructible legacy, even if he was 2 realms higher than him, it would be impossible to defeat him in a battle of the soul, let alone those of the same realm. But you did it. I won't hide it from you. During this period of time, I went to the mundane world of the Eastern continent to find out what happened. Yuanru Sky Sovereign briefly told Chunhao about the information he'd obtained from Venerable Han Mei and the others, as well as the information he'd obtained from Elder Shao of the Shao family in the mundane world of the Eastern continent. Fortunately, Dongfang Han became a monk halfway, through cultivating the art of longevity. Otherwise, the one who's alive now wouldn't be you. It's just luck. Hearing Yuanru Sky Sovereign's words, Chunhao didn't explain. In Chunhao's opinion, even without the art of longevity, he wouldn't necessarily lose to Dongfang Han. It was just that he needed more time to win. The injury to your soul should be quite serious, right? But you don't have to worry. On the Wuji planet, although no one can afford to buy the spirit medicine that can truly heal the injury, Master will definitely do his best to help you heal and nurture you wholeheartedly. Second update. Try to write the 3rd update before 12 o'clock. Chapter 495. Heavenly Lord Yuanru looked at Chunhao eagerly, and his tone was very certain. This made Chunhao faintly feel a trace of strangeness. Chunhao always believed that there was no free lunch in the world, and there would not be a free lunch for no reason. Even Heavenly Lord Yuanru could easily kill him, let alone the Wuji Patriarch. There was no doubt that he had taken a fancy to his potential. Even so, he should not be so enthusiastic, right? There was a limit to everything. Once the limit was exceeded, the effect might be the opposite, especially when it came to nurturing disciples. But Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not seem to care about this, and he directly admitted the importance of Chunhao. In this situation, it was easy to make disciples arrogant and domineering. Chunhao did not think that Heavenly Lord Yuanru did not understand this. Little junior brother, to tell you the truth, Wuji Star has reached the moment of life and death. There are still 50 years left. If Master can't nurture a real genius disciple who can take over his position, Wuji Star will be reduced to a slave planet, and it will be difficult for us to rise again. Including you and me, including any race in the Wuji Star zone, will be branded as slaves. The legacy you received is the strongest legacy that Master left behind. Although it is immortal, There is no such thing as immortality in the world of cultivation. Only true strength is eternal. Master can only last for 50 years at most. Okay, I know what I'm saying now is too heavy for you. After all, you haven't even reached the human celestial stage. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to save the Wuxia star with your strength. I don't want you to realize your potential. When you see Master, he will tell you this. Okay, take this with you. Heavenly Lord Yuanru looked at Chen Hao, who was frowning and thinking, and explained. After that, he took out 2 spiritual helmets and handed one of them to Chen Hao. What is this? Chen Hao did not understand. Spiritual helmet. It is comparable to a superior grade spiritual treasure. However, its function is different from that of defensive equipment. This is something that only outstanding disciples who have reached the human immortal realm, or ranked in the top 1,000 in the Elite Academy's potential test, which is held every 60 years, can know. Through him, your consciousness can enter the second world. A second world? Is it a virtual world? Chen Hao's face glowed with excitement. When he was on Earth, he had also done his best to research the virtual world. The highest achievement was also created by him, but he had never been able to achieve satisfactory results. Virtual world? You could say that. However, this was not a completely virtual world, but a different existence from the real world. This was the 4th master of vast universe galaxy, and also the strongest master of his generation. He had condensed this mysterious world with an unsurpassed supernatural power. To be more accurate, this was a world formed by his own body. Compared to a true great world, there was no difference in essence. But in terms of carrying a life form, it was unique. None of us can enter it with our physical bodies, but through this spirit realm helmet, which is condensed with a special ability, we can let our minds enter it. The spirit realm helmet will transform our minds into a version of ourselves in the second world according to our actual situation. There are a lot of benefits to be gained from it. So miraculous. Empyrean Yuanru's few simple sentences made Chen Hao even more excited. Of course. For our vast universe galaxy to stand tall for trillions of years without falling, I don't dare to say that this is all thanks to the second world, but it is nearly all thanks to it. The time laws of the second world are different from the outside world. A day in the outside world is 10 days in the second world. If it was just this, it wouldn't be much. But the key point is that the heavenly Tao laws of the second world are extremely rich. If we meditate and meditate there, the effects will be 10 times or even 100 times better than the outside world. Of course, this is only in terms of the state of mind. Amazing. I never thought that there would be such a miraculous thing. Chen Hao said. Haha. This is only one of the benefits. There are also all sorts of special cultivation holy lands that can provide you with all sorts of imaginary opponents according to your wishes. You can die without limit, and every time you die, it will be a true feeling. How great of a benefit is this to tempering one's state of mind? On our limitless star, there are all sorts of genius selections, and countless disciples often perish in the competition. But this sort of situation doesn't occur in the second world. In order to avoid death and injury, there are no rules for the competition. Of course, in order to obtain such a unique cultivation environment, there are conditions. Also, after stepping out of limitless star, your family and friends will all have their own destinations, their own futures. If you don't have a second world, then it will be far too difficult for you to pass on a message or meet with them. There is no communication magic tool that can connect to a planet, but there is no problem with the second world. Alright, as for the specifics, you will only know after you experience it for yourself. What I have said is only a small part of it. Oh, I can enter if I wear this helmet? First, drip a drop of blood on it, and then push your true essence and thoughts to the limit and pour them into it. Every time you enter, you must do this. Like this, after you enter, your strength will be the same as it is now. Do you see this serial number? This is your communication serial number after you enter the second world. This helmet is specially designed and cannot be changed. After you enter the second world, you will automatically receive information about the second world. This is my serial number. After you enter the second world, send me a message and tell me your location. I will go and find you. Okay. Then, I will start now. Chen Hao said eagerly. Swish. After that, Chen Hao imitated Heavenly Master Yuan Ru. He sat down cross-legged and put on the helmet. Then he forced out a drop of blood essence and poured it into the helmet. Immediately, his true essence and thoughts started to run violently and rushed into the helmet. Buzz. All of a sudden, rays of silver light rose from the helmet and illuminated the entire palace. Chen Hao clearly felt his soul shake, and then he appeared in a magical space. Chen Hao didn't know that when his mind entered the second world, Heavenly Master Yuan Ru, who was sitting next to him, opened his eyes wide in shock. His essence, qi, and soul are full to such an extent, especially the pressure of his soul power. It seems to show signs of breaking through to the Earth's celestial stage. How is this possible? His soul should have been seriously injured. Heavenly Master Yuan Ru was completely petrified. He knew how badly Chen Hao's soul was hurt by Dongfeng Han's desperate counterattack. However, when Chen Hao used all his strength, his soul didn't seem to be injured at all. Amazing. Truly amazing. Master has really picked up a treasure this time. Heavenly Lord Yuan Ru was stunned for a good 2 minutes before he said excitedly, perhaps there really is hope for the boundless star. Third watch. If nothing goes wrong, tomorrow will be the third watch. It won't be like today's third watch. It will be the real third watch. Please don't scold me. Please encourage me. Please support me. Chapter 496. Amazing. Truly amazing. Only the word magical could describe Chen Hao's current feelings. It's just a strand of my consciousness. Now I'm still aware of the situation outside. It doesn't even affect the cultivation of my real body. However, in this second world, with just a strand of my consciousness, I can reconstruct a body and soul that are exactly the same as my real body. If this were to be done using the so-called science on Earth, it would be basically impossible to achieve, right? At least, I'll never be able to do it. When Heavenly Lord Yuan Ru had introduced this world to him, Chen Hao had thought that the second world was at most a virtual world that was 100% realistic. However, after entering it for real, Chen Hao realized that this was definitely not something that could be described with the word realistic. It was also not something that the virtual world on Earth could compare to. Even if future technology could achieve 100% realism, it would still be incomparable. This was because, fundamentally speaking, these were two completely different concepts. A strand of consciousness could reconstruct a body and soul that were exactly the same as the outside world. Moreover, just as Heavenly Lord Yuan Ru had said, this was another kind of reality. What was even more amazing was that the spiritual energy and laws of heaven and earth were many times stronger than those of the outside world. The laws of time were also different. Although cultivating here could not affect the real body, the significance to cultivators was definitely heaven-defying. Imagine, when a cultivator reached a bottleneck and needed to meditate and comprehend the laws of heaven and earth to understand the barrier. How many times more efficient would it be? How many times more efficient would it be when one needed to comprehend and cultivate ultimate techniques? Beep beep beep. A crisp notification sound appeared in Chen Hao's mind. Like the virtual game space mode, the basic information of the second world appeared in Chen Hao's mind. Cough cough. Isn't this communication method just email, real-time call, and video call? No, the form is the same but the method of realization is different. This is a real big world. In other words, everything is achieved through secret techniques and divine powers, not through wireless signals. There's also an information exchange platform. Fuck. I can even search for the person I'm looking for. I can also set up my own information. Invincible. Chen Hao read the information in his mind and became more and more excited. In the past, Chen Hao had thought about what would happen when he stepped into the human celestial realm and started his adventures in the higher planes. But at that time he was more or less entangled and conflicted. The reason was simple. Along the way, he had left his brothers and sisters, relatives and friends far behind. On the one hand, he longed for the vast world of cultivation and the peak of martial arts. On the other hand, he longed for his family, friends, and brothers and sisters. He knew clearly what would happen once he stepped out of the Wuxia star. At that time, he was afraid he wouldn't be able to reunite with them for 10 years, 100 years, or even hundreds of years. It had to be said that this was the fetters in Chen Hao's heart. More or less, this was the real reason why Chen Hao would not take the initiative to attack, unless he was in a certain situation where he could not restrain himself. But now, the appearance of the second world instantly resolved the conflict in Chen Hao's heart. Distant worlds are close neighbors. Phew. I didn't expect this world to be so magical and wonderful. In the future, even if I step into the starry sky, no matter when or where, as long as I am within the coverage of the second world, I can see the people I want to meet at any time. That's great. I can search. Let's try it first. Name, Chen Shui. Gender, female. Planet, Wuxia star. Age, simulated image. Searching. Beep beep beep. No? It seems that they have set up a no search. Search Hao Lian Wuzi. Rejected. Xia Yuyu, rejected. Tantai Lian, rejected. It seems that these girls have set up a no search function. That's right. I can find their communication numbers by searching images. With their looks, if they don't set up a no search function, I don't know how many flies will come to harass them. Ha ha. The 4 girls that Chen Hao hadn't seen for more than 11 years appeared in his mind. A proud and warm feeling welled up in his heart. Beep, beep, beep. At this time, Chen Hao received a video communication request in his mind. Little junior brother, it's amazing, isn't it? When Chen Hao accepted the call, Heavenly Lord Yuanru appeared in his mind and asked with a smile. It's amazing, haha. You can experience it later. Tell me where you are, I'll go find you now. Upon hearing Heavenly Lord Yuanru's words, Chen Hao raised his head and looked at the crowd and buildings around him. He then described his current location to Heavenly Lord Yuanru. Divine powers are divine powers. It'll be more convenient if I can combine it with the technology on Earth. I just need to digitize the space of the second world and specify the origin of the 3-dimensional coordinates. Then I can determine my location through the coordinates. At least I don't have to describe it so much. When the cultivators of Wuxia star appeared in the second world for the first time, they appeared in Yang City. Yang City was one of the 3rd-tier cities in the second world. Apart from Wuxia star, cultivators from thousands of other planets would appear here for the first time. In fact, the second world was a miniature version of the vast universe galaxy. Yang City corresponded to Yang star in the vast universe galaxy. Yang star was the core planet of the 1008 planets, including Wuxia star. It was also the center where cultivators of the human immortal stage and above gathered. At a glance, one could easily catch a handful of human immortals. Earth immortals were also common, but celestial immortals were rare. Moreover, what surprised Chen Hao was that the life forms from the various planets were not as strange as he had imagined. They were not much different from those on Wuxia star, and all had obvious human characteristics. Moreover, there were quite a number of cultivators who were only in the creation realm or even lower. Humph, the tiny Wuxia planet is ranked at the bottom among the 1008 planets in Yang City. If no real geniuses are born in the next 50 years, it will be replaced by other planets and become a slave planet. Then it will be put up for auction. Given the strength of my family, it will be easy for us to get it. When that time comes, I'll see how these little girls can still be so arrogant in front of me. That's right, that's right. Boss Shiman, you're the first heir of the Shiman family. Just say the word and your family will help you get it. Haha, don't talk nonsense. I'm just the second heir. It's too early to say that. The young man who was flattered was Shiman Feng, who had just been entangled with the beautiful sisters of the Lung family and Chen Shui. Although he denied the flattery of the young man beside him, the expression on his face showed that he was enjoying it. However, Boss Shiman, although the natives of Wuxia star are not talented, they are full of beautiful women and handsome men. Once they become a slave planet, I guess many big forces will bid for them. That's true. Look, this guy is quite handsome. Well, he's super handsome. TSK, I'm drooling. He's only in the creation stage. He must be a genius disciple of Wuxia star, right? Feng, who was surrounded by several young men, looked at a young man who was standing on the spot and looking around. That young man was Hao. He had a tall and slender figure, a peerlessly handsome face, and jade-like skin. He was handsome but not lacking in masculinity. The otherworldly presence he exuded caused him to stand out among the crowd even though he was only in blessed realm, and he was exceptionally dazzling and eye-catching. When the few people looked at Hao and walked towards him, Hao also averted his gaze from the distance and looked at them. His expression was calm and composed, and his gaze was calm, but there was a boundless fierceness and coldness in it. In truth, Hao was filled with curiosity towards this new world. He had been paying attention to the conversations of the people around him, and it was precisely because of this that Hao had heard all their conversations. "Brat, you're from Wuxia Star? Tiaspadiaske. What an arrogant gaze. I like it. What's your name? What's your communication number?" Follow our boss Shiman in the future, and you'll get plenty of benefits. The corners of Shiman Feng's mouth curled up slightly, and he looked at Hao indifferently. He did not say anything, but he did not stop his lackey from teasing him. Such a handsome guy was very rare. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in the middle of a busy city, he definitely wouldn't be polite. After all, due to his identity, he couldn't reveal his special hobby to the public, even though it wasn't a secret. In fact, in many large families, there were quite a few who had this hobby. It was just that no one would reveal it to the public. Yes, he was the legendary type who liked both men and women. Regardless of whether his lackey was real or fake, under his tyrannical power, they at least behaved. How could they not be moved by a rare handsome man like Hao? Get lost. Yo, you're like that little girl. You've got character. Brat, you probably don't know who our boss Shiman is, right? He's one of the 5 big families on the Ya'ing planet, Shiman Feng, young master Shiman. Forget it, you probably still don't know. Only those who have reached the human immortal stage on your small planet are qualified to enter the Ya'ing planet. You only need to know that if you acknowledge us as your boss now, you'll get plenty of benefits in the future. I dare not say that you can do whatever you want in the vast universe galaxy, but within the jurisdiction of the Ya'ing planet, there won't be any problems. What do you think? Hearing this, Hao frowned slightly. Before entering the second world, he knew nothing about anything outside the Wuxia planet. It could be said that all his knowledge was limited to what he had just heard. At first, he wanted to attack directly. After all, there were no rules in the second world. As long as he wanted to, he could start a massacre at any time and even do whatever he wanted. Of course, the premise was that he had the ability to do so. But now, after hearing this, Hao did not immediately attack. Is that so? Why did you choose me for such a good job? First update. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian.com. Chapter 497. Haha. Indeed, there's no free lunch in this world. There's a reason why we think highly of you. The person who spoke looked at Hao with bright eyes. He paused for a while and then said, "One of the reasons is that our boss has taken a liking to a few female disciples from the Wuxia Star. They've just reached the human celestial stage. I think you know them. Maybe they can help our boss. Of course, this is not enough. It depends on your performance in the future." "Oh, brother, what's the name of the female disciple that you've taken a liking to? I don't know any female disciple from the Wuxia Star who's just reached the human celestial stage. Tell me about it." Hao smiled and said with interest. With Hao's shrewdness and sharp soul perception, how could he not see the lustful light in the depths of these people's eyes when they looked at him? However, although Hao was disgusted, he did not show it. "That's good. Do you know Chen Shui?" "Chen Shui?" Hao's expression changed dramatically. He seemed to be surprised and confused. In fact, when he heard these guys talking, Hao had guessed a possibility. However, there were so many human celestials on the Wuxia Star. Hao did not think it was a coincidence. However, when the guy said that he was looking for a female disciple who had just reached the human celestial stage, Hao had a feeling that this might be a coincidence. As expected, the guy said Chen Shui's name. It seems you know her? And you know her? That's right. Yes, we do. I'm very sorry, Chen Shui is my cultivation partner. What? Boy, are you kidding? Chen Shui has the vital Yin body. How could she be your cultivation partner? Who said that cultivation partners must be done in advance? With our talents, we're not at the stage where we need to do that. Chen Hao asked calmly. That's good. The first thing you need to do now is to give up on Chen Shui. Help me deal with her. Is that okay? Xi Minfeng finally spoke. His expression was arrogant, but there was no anger in his eyes when he looked at Chen Hao. Instead, there was a trace of eagerness. Haha. Chen Hao couldn't help but laugh out loud and said, Are you sick, or do you think I'm sick? This joke isn't funny at all. I don't think it's fun either. Alright, since Chen Shui is your Dao companion, then this young master can choose to give up. Moreover, this young master will allow you to bring her along and follow me. This young master has his eyes on a few more. As long as you can introduce them to me or create some opportunities for me, it's fine, right? Whether there's a problem or not, you have to tell me who it is. I can't agree so easily. Chen Hao had the urge to immediately beat this guy to death. How could he not see through this guy's intentions? Killing two birds with one stone, and even killing himself. This was truly the highest grade of abnormal to the point that there was no lower limit. However, Chen Hao still endured it. He really wanted to know how coincidental it was. Yes, you should know the other few as well. They are very familiar with Chen Shui. Oh? Helian Wuxia, Xia Yuyu and Tantai Lian 3? Haha. That's right. There are also two who have just entered the second world for a little over a year. I don't know what their names are because they haven't appeared in Ying City yet. I only know that they are a pair of sisters. Completely correct. How is it? Facing Xi Minfeng's eager and expectant gaze, Chen Hao's eyes did not evade in the slightest. After staring straight at the other party for a few seconds, he suddenly chuckled. The corner of his mouth inadvertently hooked up into a bewitching arc, and he faintly said, Nothing much. So handsome, Xi Minfeng, who like both men and women had seen countless people, who knew how many handsome men and beautiful women he had tasted. However, he had never thought that one day he would actually become infatuated because of a man's evil smile. At this moment, he didn't even care about what Chen Hao said. He only felt that his heart, which had been on the battlefield for a long time, was deeply captivated. HM? Chen Hao originally thought that his provocative and disdainful reply would cause the other party to immediately flip out. But now, Xi Minfeng's expression made him a little dumbfounded. What was this situation? Kid, what do you mean? At this moment, the guy whose status was obviously second only to Xi Minfeng stretched out his hand to strangle Chen Hao's neck. Slap. Chen Hao was as fast as lightning and slapped the other party's hand away. At this moment, Xi Minfeng also suddenly came back to his senses and hurriedly said, Yes, you, what do you mean? Qiu, don't do it first. A cough, okay. The youth who was called Qiu by Xi Minfeng was slightly taken aback when he heard Xi Minfeng's words. Shortly after, he awkwardly coughed twice and replied. When he looked at Chen Hao again, the depths of his gaze were filled with jealousy and enmity. Similarly, the other youths were also secretly muttering in their hearts. Not to mention anything else, just by looking at Xi Minfeng's expression at this moment, they knew that once Chen Hao joined them, it would absolutely cause them to lose favor and their status would drop by one place. You, what do you mean? Say it, don't worry. I won't do anything to you. Fuck. This time, Chen Hao really wanted to vomit. He had guessed the process but not the ending. How could it be like this? He should have been very angry and then attacked, and then he would not hesitate to experience the battle experience in the second world. But the fuck? The result was actually such a huge contrast. That affectionate gaze made Chen Hao have the urge to find a piece of tofu and kill himself. It was too fucking disgusting. It's very simple, they cough. They are all my Dao companions. Scram. Hurry up and scram. Forget it, I'll scram. Remember, no matter who you are, if you dare to touch my women, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Hiss. Cough. Accompanied by the sound of vomiting, Chen Hao was like a wisp of green smoke, disappearing in front of Shimin Feng and the others like a spark of lightning. Want to run? Stop. Cough cough. Boss Shimin. Faced with Shimin Feng's shout, the few of them stopped with black lines all over their faces. Immediately, catch a few Wuji Star cultivators for me. You can pay anything as long as you know who he is. Boss Shimin. Go. Yes. Seeing the few people around him leave quickly, Shimin Feng's eyes were a little dazed as he looked in the direction Chen Hao disappeared. He trembled as he clenched his fists. Never has anyone made my heart tremble like this. I finally found my true love. Cough cough. Fuck his mother. How can there be such a disgusting person? Chen Hao, who had already escaped tens of miles away, was still retching. Fortunately, there was nothing in his stomach, otherwise he would really vomit. Of course, if Chen Hao could hear Shimin Feng's so-called true love from the depths of his soul, he would probably be disgusted to death. Cough cough, you overestimated my speed. Shrink a bit, I'll update this chapter first. Come out around 12 o'clock, I'll update as many words as I can. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.